Yeah, 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 yeah.
Don't just make your fucking beats.
I'm about my game. Live by the rules, we don't play the same. That's on my grave, that's on my name. I'm saying, I'm about my paper, about my game. I'm about my game.
What is up, everybody? This is Thomas Christopher of the League Winners, and as you can see, I'm not in my normal studio. That's because we are experiencing some crazy weather up in upstate New York. Nice solid mix of blizzard and sleet, which means that I'm actually staying at home doing this show tonight. With that in mind, we'll have a couple of guests on. We'll talk some college football. We'll talk the NFL scouting combine. And one of our guests has actually been and actually was at the combine. I guess Twitter's experienced issues with live streaming posts. If you can't find it, okay, we'll see if that comes up in a second. Sorry, there was a StreamYard notification. So yeah, we'll have somebody who is at the combine who can talk about some combine stuff. So that'll be fun. We'll of course have Dan Tortora from WakeUpCall DT also on the show. That'll be fantastic. We'll talk a little bit of college football. We'll talk a little bit about Syracuse football and the Syracuse Orange, and it should be a fun time. I noticed that half my face. I mean, I wish I had my backdrop normally, because normally, I mean, you guys see the backdrop with all the football stuff, but now I'm just in like a half room where it's a nice pasty yellow, and I got half a shade in my face. So with that in mind, this is going to be an interesting show, a little off the cuff stuff. But if you're here watching on X/Twitter, please make sure to click that like button. It's completely free to do so. Click that retweet button as well to get added exposure to the show. I would greatly appreciate if you were able to do so. If you're watching it on Facebook, it'd be nice if you take that like and you comment and you share it to your friends and family. If you're watching on Twitter, make sure to click that like button. It's completely free to do so. And if you enjoy the content, feel free to subscribe. As you know, this is Thomas Christopher of the League Winners. I'm the CEO. For those who are just watching, if this is your first time, we cover college football on site. We'll have beat reporters from the company of itself and national beat reporters as well coming on talking about their specific teams. We've been fortunate enough to cover the Army-Navy game, some playoff games, and we've had some fantastic guests, including the later Dan Tortora, who's been a broadcaster now for about 23 years. So with that in mind, stay tuned. The show is always something with the show, but I think everybody will enjoy it. But I do want to start off by discussing something that was brought to news to me, and that is for the pro days. Obviously, we'll talk NFL combine stuff. We'll talk some NFL draft stuff later, but the next process, and that is the pro days. And because of the war in the Middle East, I'm not going to get political at all, don't worry. But because of the war in the Middle East, the Navy and Army academies are not going to have their pro days open for visitors. I only know that because I was supposed to attend both of those pro days, and I received emails 2 or 3 days ago letting me know, and I just wanted to make sure I put that out there for anybody wondering. So keep an eye on the team's social media pages. I was told by Scott Strasmiser from Navy Athletics that is going to be posted from the Navy football channel as well as the Navy athletic channel. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that. But that will mean players like Landon Robinson, who had a fantastic Shrine Bowl and probably should have gotten an NFL Combine invite. He isn't going to be made public. It's going to be private, so there'll be a lot of stuff posted on that. Eli Heidenreich was fortunate enough to actually get to the combine, and there'll be a couple players for Army as well. Noah Short, a fantastic slot back receiver. If you like Eli Heidenreich, I highly recommend you look into the Noah Short tape from the Army Black Knights. He's in my opinion, I think they're very similar players. I think they're very similar ceilings. Fortunately for Eli, he ended up getting a lot more buzz than Noah did, just because the offense around Navy was a lot better than Army was this year. Army had to go back and forth between two quarterbacks. Obviously, Dwayne got benched partly in that Tarleton State upset game in week 1. He ended up briefly getting the job back before being completely benched once again. So I just want to I know a lot of people like Eli Heidenreich, and I do too. Don't get me wrong, but Noah Short is another player that I think that you should really keep an eye on going forward. Maybe he flies under the radar. Obviously, it's a lot harder with these naval and Army Academy cadets and players. But it's somebody to pay attention to. And like I said, he had to deal with a change at quarterback this season. Kate, sorry, if only I could speak a little bit better, right? Cale Helms ended up being the starting quarterback for Army, and they kind of picked up a little bit. He was a little bit better through the air, but just the overall offenses too. Sorry, I know I'm going on a tangent about stuff that people probably don't even care about, but I do want to give a shout out to Noah Short. Obviously, there's a lot of great players that are on that Army defense, two linebackers. Andon Thomas is fantastic to a linebacker there. Caleb Fortner as well, who was at the Hula Bowl. I believe Andon Thomas was at the American Bowl or CGS All-Star game. He was also at one of those. But Army has a lot of great players too. It's not just Navy. And as much as you've probably seen my feed and like, oh, this guy loves Landon Robinson. I do love Landon Robinson. And I love Eli Heidenreich. And I love Blake Horvath. And I love Alex Teska and all those guys. I do think that Army is fantastic as well. And they looked fantastic last year too. Even after losing their starting quarterback, like we're going to see how Navy's about to transition and that this upcoming season. But just seeing the way that Army, this is a shout out to Coach Monken too, because that team had no business making a bowl game and then ended up going into the Alamo Dome and defeating UTSA to secure a bowl game. Berth was just incredible. So shout out to Coach Monken. But I do want to give a shout out to the Army cadets as well. Noah Short, like I said, Noah Short, Caleb Fortner, and Thomas. There's a third linebacker too, and I'm going to blank on his name, so I do apologize in advance. But I just wanted to get that out of the way. In terms of pro days, this is just pro day news right now. In terms of pro days, those two pro days have officially there will not be any outside visitors on the surety on the base in and of itself because of the war in the Middle East. Just standard protocol because of where those are located. It just shows that football is just a small sliver of what those kids have to endure throughout the year. Other news is the Delaware Blue Hens. They still haven't gotten their pro day set up yet. They've gotten a spring practice schedule. We finally have that and a couple more with Syracuse as well being confirmed. But Delaware has not initiated the pro day yet. Maryland is also a TBD on that. And I do want to talk quickly about, I know I'm going so off topic. This is so bad. But it's just a lot of things. Today's been a hectic day. So in terms of spring stuff too, one thing that I know I'm saying a lot as well. So everybody remembers last year when Coach Fran Brown and Deion Sanders were trying to do joint practices. It's honestly a great idea. It's something that the NFL does a lot of. It's something that college football should probably do more of if the transfer portal and stealing players wasn't such a big deal. But unfortunately, that's the world. We don't live in that world, and it is a big deal. So everybody remembers that Syracuse and Colorado wanted to play each other during spring ball. Obviously, they should have done it. I truly think they should have. It got denied last year, and there's news just came out that it got denied again this year. So you have to think that the NCAA is probably thinking from a larger aspect of player safety, but also not having players get poached from the other teams and just seeing things of that nature happening. Because the way college football is set up, and if you watch this show, you've seen me and multiple people talk about what a disaster the NCAA is right now. But the facts kind of are what they are, right? The NCAA has done a subpar job at handling the new changes that we're seeing in the college football landscape, right? Whether it has to do with players getting paid in of itself, obviously, all the money that's coming in now with college football players, they've done a really poor job handling that. And part of the problem is that we have a bunch of people who are out of the loop in terms of what's going on. They only list the people who make the decisions aren't listening to other people who are actually around this decision making and around football teams. Because when you get at the top, when you get into these people who are in a position of power, they don't try to see the full grasp of everything. They see it in a one-dimensional thing because that's all they really have to do. That's why they're put in that position. Their main assets for why they were given the power they were given is to head college football in one direction, right? So they don't necessarily see all the other stuff when it involves the trickle down effect, but they have to look at it that way. So because they're playing catch up now, with all the money, the endorsement money that's coming in now, and athletes actually getting paid the way that they're supposed to. They haven't found a way to cap that really, and the NIL has made it's been a massive stain on what college football is becoming, because now a lot of this stuff is happening, and that's why we're not going to be able to see joint practices between the likes of 2P4 programs like Syracuse and Colorado. And that's because the NIL, and that's because of the transfer portal, where they allow people to basically do anything they want to do and more or less get away with it in a sense. I mean, we look at everything that's happened already with Luke Farrelly. By the way, Luke Farrelly is a great kid. I know I keep going on tangents, but this is more of the aspect of why we're not getting joint practices for college football programs in the spring. But a lot of that, we mentioned the NIL is a massive issue, but we also mentioned player poaching. And that even happens now with the monetary incentive that a lot of these kids have. We've talked about Luke Farrelly on the show numerous times, the California linebacker who's kind of bounced around a bit in terms of where he's wanted to go. By the way, he's a great kid. His brother's a great kid, and his father's a great man too. I don't want to frame Luke in a bad sense, because he's more or less a victim of circumstance in the way that the world is going now. And if I'm a athlete, I'm doing the same thing. I'm just going to be honest. I'm doing the same thing. But that just goes to show Luke Farrelly got basically tampered with from Clemson. Now he's going to be at Ole Miss. What's going to happen there? Are they just going to get a monetary penalty? Are they just going to get you won't have a playoff game? Or how does that actually work? Because if the team goes undefeated, then it'll just be like, well, they tampered, but does it matter? Like there's not a gold standard in the way that the NCAA is running things right now. And the problems that it's going into is that the oh my God, I'm blanking on the word. Oh my God. The results are not equal to this has been so bad. I apologize in advance. This has been so bad. But the results that they're getting has not been consistent. And the verdicts that they're laying down is just not consistent. We see a Michigan team have as many issues as they've had and not necessarily have to lose anything. We've seen Michigan State not really win anything, and they've had things completely stripped from them. So there's a lot of politics that are currently going into the spring practices and the joint practices not happening. Unfortunately, that's just kind of the world that we live in right now. And I do just think that the NCAA kind of has to get it together if they really want to be, taken seriously going forward. Because other than that, it's just going to be ridiculous. But I do want to go over some more spring stuff. I know we're kind of going on a loop here. We have a bunch of, pro days and spring games and starting with the football, the list. Sorry, I apologize. We have William and Mary starting on March 7th, Furman, but we don't get really to the P4s until March 28th. We had Nebraska and Clemson both have theirs on March 28th. We have Georgia Southern on April 4th. Then we go into April 10th. It is Montana, Nevada, Rice, and Sacred Heart. A lot of smaller names. April 11th is kind of where everybody starts to get going a little bit. We have, April 11th, just bear with me. There's a lot of names. This is Florida, Purdue, Alabama, Temple, UConn, Colorado, FIU, who we cover, Syracuse, who we cover. We got Kennesaw State in there as well, South Alabama, Tennessee, and Western Kentucky. And then we don't see, Samford kind of crunches in between there. But then we have the Friday, and then it's a couple more teams. We have Georgia State, Florida Atlantic, who we also cover, Texas Tech, Army, who we cover. And then the 18th as well is kind of where we get another massive chunk of teams starting that with UAB, Cincinnati, the primary names, Michigan State, East Carolina, North Texas, Duke, Oklahoma, Old Dominion, A&M, Texas A&M, Auburn, We have App State. We have the University of California, which we cover, Delaware, who we cover, Georgia Tech, who we cover, Kentucky, Memphis, Michigan, Ohio State. You kind of get my point. A lot of schools there. San Jose State, Oklahoma State, Ohio State, Texas, Toledo, Troy, Vandy, Virginia Tech, and Wake. Then we get USF on their lonesome Sunday, April 19th. That's going to be very interesting. That's a team where I'm very curious to see how Brian Hartline puts things together. Shout out to Mackenzie Brennan and Brandyn Pokrass for the work that they're doing. Mackenzie Bernard, sorry. I'm all over the place. Mackenzie Bernard for the work that she's doing with us. And then we have Saturday, April 25th. We get I think it's the last chunk of the spring games where we have James Madison on April 25th, Notre Dame, Oregon State, Boise State, Oregon, a lot of West Coast side teams, Arizona, Arkansas State. We have ETSU, Louisiana, Minnesota, New Mexico. Shout out to Couch Potato Sports over there. Shout out Daniel Zuniga. We have Northwestern, Penn State, Texas State, UTSA, and Washington State, kind of rounding out the big ones. April 26th, Monmouth, who we cover as well. They're going to have theirs Friday, May 1st. We have Washington. May 2nd, UCLA, who we also cover in New Hampshire. And then the last spring game of the schedule right now is Portland State. And very interesting to note that there are 3 teams actually who will not have a spring game this season. That is Brown University, Missouri, which is fairly surprising, and then New Mexico State, which is another one that's surprising. New Mexico State being one of the worst teams in college football this past year. No offense to the players or coaching staff. I'm kind of surprised that they don't have one listed for 2026. I'm actually going to reach out to Daniel Zuniga and see if he knows any particular reason why. Shout out to him at Couch Potato Sports. Make sure you guys follow him. He does have a Twitter now, believe it or not, which I didn't think that he was going to be doing. But he's done a great job. He's probably one of my favorite follows, especially on Instagram as well. Let me just pull up his Couch Potato Sports. It is at Couch P Sports on X/Twitter, and I believe it's Couch Sports Coverage on Instagram. We're gonna double check that real quick, but I do want to give a shout out to Daniel there, even though I may have botched his. One thing you guys are gonna learn if this is your first time watching, I botch a lot of names, even the ones I'm good with. If you can't tell, my brain runs about 1,000 miles a minute, so I do apologize in advance. And it is Couch Potato Sports Coverage on Instagram. Is Couch Potato Sports Coverage, all one word, nothing in between it. Does a fantastic job with New Mexico coverage, and he does travel with the team on site, and just a fantastic follow and genuine, a really great and kind guy. So I do really want to give a shout out to Daniel on there. He does fantastic interviews, and he really helps players. He helps them get the exposure that they really need. And he started really without having a shot anywhere else. So if that doesn't make you want to follow him and learn more about him, I don't know what will. But if you are listening to this show, please make sure you hit that like button. It's completely free to do so. If you comment, this is a live show. I should have mentioned that before, but you're probably seeing it already if you're watching. This is a live show. So any comments you want to talk about, if they're live, we will make sure to get to them. We will get right back to you. And if you comment after you watch the show's live version, we are no longer live, I will make sure to get back to you within 24 to 48 hours. You can ask anything college football related, even potentially NFL related as well. And we can get to it as long as it's sports related. Just please keep it politic free or and just PG-13 if you do decide to leave a comment. Otherwise, we will not be able to post it, unfortunately. With that said, I do want to give a shout out to everybody watching right now. It's been a long, crazy year. If you've been following the league winners, we finally got our main account unsuspended from Twitter, which I guess was due to a bug. And we found a way to explode from 2 teams to 18 teams, and we will have even more. I can rest assure you on that one. Once this upcoming season starts rolling as well, it just speaks to really what we're doing, and I do appreciate everybody that works for us, helps us behind the scenes, and and just overall support. It really does mean a lot, not just to me, but but all of the writers and staff here as well. So I do want to thank everybody on that. But before we get to our next guest, there's a little segment that we like to do where we highlight a lot of the players that we've talked to. Normally it's prospects, but for this iteration, it's actually going to be it's actually going to be prospects going into the NFL draft. So normally it's high school prospects. This time it's going to be prospects entering the NFL draft. And we normally have a segment where we showcase our interview of these players, and just to try to support them and help them with everything that they're doing, because let's be honest, a lot of these players deserve more media attention than they're getting than just the main players in and of themselves. The next player that I do want to showcase is, mentioned him at the very beginning of the show because I am a massive fan of him. And I did mention as well that they will not be showcasing the Naval Academy's Pro Day. It is going to be, like I said before, it is going to be canceled for outsiders. Nobody is allowed to visit or step inside the Naval Academy lines unless you're already there. And sorry about that. I meant to share the screen. That's how long of a day it's been. But I do want to give a shout out to him. Make sure you guys follow Landon Robinson because he's going to be our next spotlight player on this nice segment that we have. So I'm going to play the clip, and you're just going to watch it. Just enjoy.
Hello, I'm Landon Robinson. I go to the United States Naval Academy and I play D-line.
Here at the East-West Shrine Bowl, you're coming off a dominant day 3 of practice. It's been a very good week for you overall. Talk about your experience here and what it means to be in an event like this.
Yeah, no, it's super cool. It's a great experience being able to come out here and compete against the best people in the country. And that's something that that's what you grind for. That's what you put in all the work for, is to come to places like this and show what you have and side yourself up to everyone else in the country. So it's been a great week, and I'm just so blessed to be here, and it's been a great experience.
Playing at the Naval Academy, but I heard that originally you may not have actually been able to get into the Naval Academy. Could you talk about what happened with that and how you ended up getting the scholarship to get in?
Yeah, absolutely. When I was growing up, I was allergic to peanuts. My dad's he's anaphylactic for peanuts, actually. So when I grew up, when I was a young kid, probably around like middle school, I got like one of those skin prick tests like everyone gets to see what you're allergic to. And peanuts, flared up, and I was like, okay, I'm allergic to peanuts. Same with my brothers; they're both allergic. But as I was going through the recruiting process, and Navy, showed interest in me, and they were like, "Hey, we want to recruit you." I was like, "Okay, like I'm allergic to peanuts, though." And they were like, "Oh, okay, like we'll see what we can do." So they pretty much, were sending my offer, and was like, "I don't know if we'll be able to get you a waiver to come in." So then I was like, "Okay, like it's all good." I had about 30 FCS offers that I could fall back on, but my mom and I were like, we want to see what we can do. We want to exhaust every opportunity before we give up on something. So we went to the Thermo Fisher, Akron, Ohio, the doctor's place where they test peanuts for stuff like that. And we went, and they pretty much told me, they took some blood and checked all this stuff, and they pretty much told me that it would be a small chance that I'm not allergic to peanuts. So we were like, okay, let's do it. Let's see what's going on. And so they pretty much brought me in, and we did like an eating test where I ate, I started off with a small part of peanut butter, like a little bit of peanut butter, and a little bit more, then a little bit more, a little bit more over the span of like 2 hours, and see if I had a reaction. And I actually had no reaction at all. So I ended up outgrowing it, I guess, and it's been a blessing ever since. And I went and told Navy, and it was all good to go. So yeah, really cool experience.
Tying into that, you've had a extremely impressive career, not just for someone at the Naval Academy, but for an overall college football career. Talk about what it means to have that type of career, and also tying into that, what's your favorite memory from your college career?
Yeah, being at the Naval Academy and having an experience like this has been just unreal, and it's super special being able to be recognized in that light and have all the awards and all the accolades that I have. So that's been a blessing, and just through the hard work and the discipline and all those things that comes with being at the Naval Academy, you learn those things, and the grit and the passion that you have to play with in order to be successful, and in order to be successful at the Naval Academy. So I just translated those onto the field, and it's been an absolute blessing. Yeah, so I'd say my favorite memory was, I think it was 2024 Army-Navy game. and we were on. The Army was driving down the field, and it was pretty much a goal line stand that we had to have pretty much, and it was red zone stand, I guess you could call it. But it was one play where I'm lined up kind of over the center, kind of like a 2-eye ish shade there, and the line went away, right? And I kind of get through the line, and I like fall down, and I get back up, and I look up. The quarterback's running right downhill. I get up, grab him, boom, right in the backfield. And I'm pretty much holding on to him, and he's still staying up. He's like kind of falling, and just all my teammates just boom, 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 and just unload on him, and I just bring him down. It was so awesome. We ended up stopping him there, so that was a great experience. Just the Army Navy game in general is just such an electric experience that not everyone gets a chance to experience. So it was really cool.
Yeah, we think everyone should. We were fortunate enough to watch this past year's Army Navy game. Great victory,
Cool.
by the way. It was a fantastic game. I did want to ask something regarding that. Caleb Fortner from an Army linebacker said that in the men's room they have in the urinal cups are the Navy and Air Force. Does Navy have anything like that for the other academies?
No, sir. No, we do not have anything like that. I'm not surprised, but that's something. We don't have anything like that. No, we always want to play for the love of each other. That's something that in Navy we pride ourselves in, and we just play for the love of one another. So it's been, I love the Naval Academy and Coach Newberry. He's a great coach, and he's put together the past 2 years, a great team. So
When it comes to you as an overall defensive lineman, coming to an event like this, you're learning a lot of new schemes, a lot of new terminology. You're working with a new group of players. How has that been? How has that adjustment been? And then a second part to that, how have you felt yourself grow already throughout this week?
Yeah, it's been a great experience. I think when you come to a new place and you're throwing all this information, you're throwing around all these people that you don't really know, it really brings out, what do you fall on? Like, what training do you fall on? And at the Naval Academy, it teaches you how to adapt to uncertainty, adapt to things that are new. So it really hasn't been that much of a shock for me or Eli for that matter. I think we've both been doing pretty well. So just being able to adapt to change and take those new plays and really learn them and study them. Like Eli and I are studying in the room every night, just looking over plays and things of that nature. So so it's been a great experience, and I think I've grown just by your confidence. I think your confidence level when you come to a place like this, like I said, you're comparing yourself to everyone else in the country who are great players that are here with you. So when you are able to make good plays and you do well in a setting like this, it really builds that confidence. So I think that's what I've done the most to grow.
As a quote unquote undersized interior, defensive lineman, a lot of people bat an eye, thinking that you can't perform at the same level. Can you just talk about how you use your size and strength and leverage to win and dominate your opponents?
Yeah, I think you said it right there. Just the size, the leverage, right? When you're playing in the interior, it's not always the biggest guy who wins, right? It's the lowest guy. So being able to stay low, being able to use that strength and get off the ball, boom, you shock the lineman, and then you stay low so they can't drive you off the ball. I think that's extremely important, and that's how the low man always wins in the trenches. So being able to use my size and strength, I think that's what I do well. And then when you can, use that quickness and speed to be able to get through slower offensive linemen to make plays. So I think that I've been able to show that this week. So.
Touching on that, and also something you spoke about in terms of your film study, playing in the trenches is like trench warfare, right? It's like you have to have a game plan, you have to adjust, you have to counter, right? How do you like to approach playing the defensive line position? How have you felt your game plan grow from your freshman year up until now, where you're going against some of the best offensive linemen in the country?
Yeah, no, I think when you're early on in your career, it's more of just get off the ball and see what happens and just use your strength and be, oh man, I'm going to, go bully these guys. I think that's what a lot of young players think. But, as I've gotten older and as I've, had more experience, it's more about the technique. And obviously, yeah, you still want to have some strength and get off the ball, of course. But once you get off the ball, you shock them, you use your hands, right? Tight hands, all those things, pad level. But you also want to, stay low, and you want to kind of contort your body so that the pressure is pushed against each other so that they don't drive you backwards. So all those little technical things that comes to play when I come, go to play, either playing a double team or playing a single block or, pass rushing, all those little details are something that I've developed throughout the years of just studying the game and studying different players and just seeing those things and applying them to my game.
I ask a lot of players this. A lot of players have a superstition or a ritual or a routine that they do on game day. Does that apply to you at all? And if so, what is it?
Yeah, I think I just like to listen to music. I like to pray. I like to be at peace with myself and just really just focus on my mission, what I have to do in that moment. So I really don't have anything too crazy. I just like to just focus. I think that being too distracted is something that you don't want to be when we're coming into a football game, because there's already going to be too many distractions once you get out there. So you don't want to be distracted in your own mind. You want to be focused and then ready to go when you get out there.
Building off that, what are the top 3 go-to songs for you on a game day?
Oh, that's a great question. I think, man, I have a whole playlist I just go down. It's a little bit of R&B, a little bit of rap, a little bit of slow jams, like things of that nature. So I don't think I could pick out 3 like songs, but I think it's just a mix of all of those. So I just put it on in the background while I'm stretching or just getting ready to go. So yeah.
R&B before a game, unmatched.
Yeah,
I can vouch for that. But shifting away from the field now, I want you to describe to us your ideal off day, a day that doesn't include the sport of football.
Yeah, I think at the Naval Academy, you're always busy. It doesn't matter if you have football or not. So I think I wake up in the morning, I go to class. We go to morning formation, and then you go to class for a few hours. Then you have noon meal formation, and then you go to more class. You eat lunch, then you have more class. And then after that, you're doing homework, right? You're doing homework until probably around like 6 o'clock if I have no football, right? But if I have football, I'm doing it way later. But around like 6 o'clock, and then I like to see if my brothers are on the video game. I have 2 brothers, older and younger, so middle child. So I try to hop on and then play some video games when I can with them. And then you finish the day and you go to bed. So or eat dinner and then go to bed. So that's probably my day on a daily basis. But if I'm not lifting, if you're saying I'm not working out at all, then yes, that's what I do. But usually I like to work out or do something when I'm not playing football. So.
And last thing, you're at the Naval Academy. Can you just talk about what that experience has been like for you? What the importance of serving, not just your country, but your fellow man, and can you just talk about what it means to you?
Yeah, the Naval Academy is super special place where not a lot of people can get in, let alone stay there. So I take a lot of pride in it. I take a lot of pride at being at the Naval Academy and what comes with it, which is the service, the dedication to your country. So I take a lot of pride in it, and it's super special to me. And with the service, I'm a Marine Ground Select right now, so that in and of itself is just super special. Just being able to be selected in that sense by many military officers at the Naval Academy. So it's just super big honor, and I take a lot of pride in it for sure.
And before we get you out of here, brother, just let everybody know where they can find you out on your social media.
Yeah, you can find me at Landon_Robinson 96 on Instagram, and then on Twitter, just Landon Robinson. Awesome.
And that was Landon Robinson from the United States Naval Academy. Always love to have myself muted on there. I do apologize for that. But I did want to make sure that we gave him a shout out because, like I said at the top of the show, the Army and the Navy Pro Days will not have outside visitors. There will still be some content from the Army and football social medias. But in terms of outside visitors, that will not happen due to the conflict in the Middle East. We've already talked. We've had Eli Heidenreich's interview. We have had Landon Robinson's. And if you're interested in the urinal cake story, stay tuned because we have Caleb Fortner's interview coming potentially at the end of this show. We'll see how much time we have. If not, it will be next week's show. So we've talked a lot about the spring practices. We've talked a lot about the pro days, but I do want to talk about something that just recently happened, which was the NFL Combine. And fortunately for us over here at the League Winners, we had our very fantastic Vice President, Brandyn Pokrass, live down in Indianapolis, and I'm going to bring him on right now. Brandyn, there we go. Not sure why I did that. Brandyn, how are you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing all right. As you can see, a storm locked me in a closet, basically. Don't worry, I'm not R. Kelly. It'll be okay. That's a South Park joke. That's a South Park joke. Trapped in the closet. You don't know Trapped in the Closet, man?
I do. I didn't expect you to drop that on here.
Yeah, I took it there. It's all right. We're going old school. Brandyn, you were at Indianapolis for the NFL Combine. I mean, talk about that experience for anybody who hasn't been there. Talk about what Indianapolis was like, and just talk about the experience for any first-time fans wondering what that experience is like.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty cool. I think my favorite thing, my second year being in Indianapolis is just all the people you get to meet because, you know, if you go to certain places and go out, it's like you're running into people that can make an impact, right? Like you're meeting agents, you're meeting people that are in different front offices, different scouting departments. You're meeting people that are pursuing the same types of goals that you are, and it's just really cool to meet and build connections and even build friendships with people that you meet there. And it's so cool having everything in such a centralized location where you can walk everywhere if it's not too cold, which thankfully this year it wasn't too cold. It was much easier to traverse, and they have the scooters which make things easy too. But yeah, no, it's fun. I enjoy it. It's a event I've been to 2 years in a row. Looking forward to going back again next year, seeing what else I can do compared to last year and the previous year. And I just really think it's a very fun time and something that's basically, I think what I would say is if you want to try to be in football, whether it be in football media, whether it be in the scouting, like really anything that intertwines with that, I think it's an event that at least once you should try to get out to.
Yeah, I completely agree. I went there a few years ago, as you know, and it helped solidify the reason why I wanted to dive into the company that we're currently working with in terms of football, and make it more of a personal endeavor than. But at any rate, anybody, whether you got credentialed or not, it is something that I think everybody should go out there and say, because as you alluded to, no matter basically where you're going, you're going to meet somebody who has a connection, whether it's in the NFL, in college football. You're going to meet agents, and you don't necessarily have to meet the agents of like the Arval Reeses of the world, or you can. I mean, even if you meet them, I mean, obviously that's great, but you just never know who you're going to meet. And I think that's kind of the mysterious nature of it that's just so intriguing. I think a lot of people should really do that. But moving a little bit into that, experience for you, what was it like seeing it from the stands? What kind of players really stood out to you? And obviously there's 319 players there, I think it is. So obviously I don't expect you to hit on every single one, but just give kind of like a summary of what you saw, what impressed you, and any potential things you've heard while you were in Indy.
Yeah, I mean, just it's hard to narrow it down at times, right? Because, there's so many guys that stand out. And a thing I've learned is that you want to pair the combine stuff with what the guys standing heading into it is already, right? Because you don't want to double count. Like, for example, a perfect example of two comparisons with that is Arvell Reese and Sonny Styles, right? Arvell Reese, between the testing, the 40-yard dash, and the drill work he did, showed that he can do everything, right? He showed that he has that ability, and it pops up on tape. Whereas you have a guy like Sonny Styles, where everyone knew he was one of the best, if not the best linebacker in this class. His testing now has put him in a point where, personally, I'd take him with a top 5 pick, because that's the type of guy where between his football knowledge and the pure athletic gifts that he has, and his brother has too, but the way he moved at the linebacker position at that frame, that to me now, it confirms everything and elevates things to the point where he's a guy I'm plugging in the middle of my defense for the next 7-8 years if all goes to plan, right? So there's some qualifiers with it. A guy that I want to start with on the defensive side, I'm going to kind of bounce around a little bit. I have an article coming out for League Winners soon, which will be done in the coming days, that is going to highlight some guys that stood out to me. Not necessarily like the preeminent list of the combine standouts. It's more so just personal guys that I want to highlight. Guy that really stands out to me is Malachi Lawrence of UCF. This is a guy that you and I had a chance to watch at the Shrine Bowl, and I wouldn't call it the most dominant week from Lawrence, but it was a really good week, right? Like there was a ton of reps where he's showing the burst, the athleticism, his ability to get after the passer. He had some really damn good run defense reps. He proceeds to go out and test at a level where a 4.52 40-yard dash with a 1.59 10-yard split jumped 40 inches in the vertical, and had a 10-foot, 10-inch broad jump, right? For a guy of that size and that frame doing that, now to that point, you're going back on tape and you're like, okay, now everything adds up a little bit more. Okay, now this guy might have a bit more ceiling. What hasn't been untapped at UCF at the college level that could be untapped at the next level? Like, that's the type of guy where the stock's rising. Another guy that I want to highlight is Georgia State wideout Ted Hurst. Another guy that I thought had a very solid week at the Senior Bowl and want to make sure I get the number correct. At 206 pounds, he ripped off a 4.42 40-yard dash with an impressive 1.55 second 10-yard split. He also jumped 11 feet and 3 inches in the broad jump and jumped 36 and a half inches in the vertical jump. He's a guy that moves so fluidly on the field and moves so fluidly on tape at Georgia State that you're like, all right, what does the testing look like? How does it translate against quote-unquote better competition? He passed that second test, not going in chronological order, but he passed that second test, thought he had a very solid week in Mobile. And now the testing adds up. He's one of those guys where I look at him at the wide receiver spot and I'm like, yeah, he's someone I'm willing to take that chance on. Let him develop and understand maybe a few more nuances of the route running, even though his movement ability is off the charts. I think he can contribute in an offense sooner rather than later. And then just kind of rattling off some other guys, both on offense and defense. I think Eric Rivers had an absolutely phenomenal combine for Georgia Tech. I'm pretty sure, and I'm going to double check this right now, he ran a 4.35 in the 40-yard dash. That is 4.35 seconds in the 40. Just want to make sure that I am qualifying that the right way. He also jumped 37 inches in the vertical and had a 1.52 10-yard split. Bryce Lance had a phenomenal combine. That is the wide receiver out of North Dakota State. Monroe Freeling, the offensive tackle from Georgia. I think his performance potentially vaulted him not only into the first round, which I think he was already getting a ton of buzz, but I think he could be solidified as a top 10 pick. The ability showed up on tape. He already was getting buzz. The testing that he had puts him out of this world. And then the last guy on the offensive side of things, Mike Washington Jr., one of my favorite interviews at the Senior Bowl. Actually, one more guy after that I want to highlight. Mike Washington Jr. solidified himself at the Senior Bowl. He solidified himself at the NFL Combine. At 231 pounds, he ran a 4.33 40-yard dash and had a 1.51 10-yard split, jumped 39 inches in the vertical and 10 feet 8 inches in the broad jump. This is a guy that was the best running back at the Senior Bowl. The vision, the power, the speed was on display. It showed up again at the NFL Combine. This is a guy that at a running back position that has a few questions this year in the 2026 class. He's going to be selected by a team, and I think he's going to contribute right away. Last guy on offense, for real, Jeff Caldwell, Cincinnati wide receiver. This is a guy that I think flew under the radar for a lot of people coming into the Shrine Bowl, coming into the NFL Combine. I don't think that'll be the case anymore. Even without the biggest college production, he came in at impressive frame. I think 6'5", over 215 pounds, ran a 4.31 40-yard dash with a 1.48 10-yard split, and jumped 42 inches in the vertical jump. This is the guy that you draft, let him develop, but that instant role for him is he gets vertical and takes the top off the defense and is a red zone threat. He is going to pay dividends for someone at the next level, and I think he's a sleeper that really shouldn't be slept on anymore. On the defensive side of the ball, mentioned the Ohio State guys. Denied Dennis Sutton for Penn State, had under a 7-second 3-cone. Very impressive, had a very impressive testing overall, whether it be the on-field drills where he looked phenomenal and the overall testing, just really impressed with his performance. Also, Charles Deming and VJ Payne. Deming being the Stephen F. Austin cornerback. He was very impressive in all facets, as was Payne. Bigger bodied safety, bigger frame, ran really well, looked really good in the testing. And then last two guys I want to highlight, Hezekiah Masses from Cal. Great numbers in the testing, and he was very, very impressive in the drill work. I really like the fluidity in which he moved with, something that might have been a bit of a question for some people, but I think he showed that he does have that ability within him. And then Colton Hood of Tennessee, highlighting a lot of defensive backs. I was a big fan of the overall defensive back group. There's so many more, but Hood's the last one I want to mention before I get too off the rails. Not the quote unquote best testing numbers. He tested really well. He still ran a 4.44 in the 40-yard dash, but the way he operated in the drill work, some of the best out of any defensive back in Indianapolis. Just the way he was in and out of breaks, the way he was changing direction, the way he was flying downhill, just everything done at a top level, and showed why he's considered by a lot of people to be a first-round pedigree player.
Yeah, I think that's a great list. Malachi Lawrence is a guy that I don't want to say I was surprised with the way he performed at the Shrine Bowl, because I knew he had potential, but just seeing the way that all came together, and not to say he won every rep, but he was very dominant too. I love that list. I did want to give a couple shout outs of my own. Chris Johnson, I'm surprised that it's good to see a guy not shy away from the bench press at the cornerback position, and then to see him put up the top marks, tied with the top marks with, I think it was Avion Terrell, if I'm not mistaken. The bench. Yeah, I think they had. I know he had 17. I think Terrell had 17 too.
So
Terrell 17.
Yeah, Johnson and Terrell had 17 to pop. Julian Neal, who also had a really good combine in my eyes, had 16, followed by Keith Abney at 15, Amari Harvey at 15, Jermon McCoy at 14, and Taranio Pride at 13 reps.
Yeah, I really liked Christian, because especially after the perceived struggles that he had at the Senior Bowl, it's good to see him bounce back, test well athletically as well. 17 is probably a fairly good number for a cornerback at this point, with the way the NFL's kind of changed, kind of moved away from a lot of big physical corners in that regard. And he also ran a 4.41, so he has good speed too.
I think it was a 4 flat. I think it was a 4.4 flat.
Is it 4.4 flat?
He ran a 4.4 flat. He was the third fastest cornerback at the combine, only trailing Dalen Everett's 4.38 and Taranio Pride's 4.32.
Yeah, so I was really impressed with that.
You got the idea.
I know. It's all right. I can't talk because you know how many names I've messed up in the past 10 shows. So we're bad with names sometimes. We try our best, but when you're a reader, you're bound to mispronounce names if you haven't heard them from the person themselves. But yeah, I was impressed with his display, not just the strength aspect, but the speed aspect as well. And as you already know, I was a huge fan of him as an actual cornerback just by his film grade. I was a little disappointed in that Tredaon Stukes didn't bench as a perceived safety. Blew me away with the 4.37, I think it was, in the 40. I did not expect that. I didn't expect him to hit a sub 4.4. So seeing him do that's great. He is undersized in comparison, but he plays like a dog. So that's why I was a little disappointed I didn't see him bench, because I wanted to see if that is more play strength.
Tredaon Stukes ran a 4.33.
4.33? Holy shit. Whoops, wasn't supposed to say that. I thought it was a 4.37. That's even better, because that's just insane speed. That's just insane speed for a guy who showed to be an absolute dog this past season. Obviously a little bit undersized, but I wanted to see the bench press. But with the way the NFL is now, guys don't want to lose out on money, and I do not blame them in the slightest. So obviously you already know that I'm a huge fan of him. I was surprised Chris Hilton didn't run a sub 4.4, to be honest with you, but it doesn't really matter too much. I love seeing Jacob Rodriguez absolutely nail it in the 3 cone for the linebackers. I know he got first.
He nailed everything.
Yeah, I know he got first
the 3
there.
Cone. He had he's giving less and less of a reason for people not to take him very high in the draft, because every single box that you needed to check for a guy that was as productive as him in college, he's checking it. And at the linebacker position, having a guy with that type of turnover forcing capability that can run and does have the agility and does have the frame, check.
Literally.
It's becoming one of those things where I think people are starting to catch up in terms of the fact that he might be a riser.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree. Another guy who I like, I mean, right behind him too is Kyle Lewis. And if you haven't listened to us before, we're huge Kyle Lewis fans.
It's a fun linebacker class, man. Like
Yeah.
it really is. It was fun in Mobile. It was fun in what do you call it? At the Shrine Bowl, and it was fun at the NFL Combine. You know,
Yeah.
this is the class between them and the safeties and what's the other position? Even the wide receivers, right? Like tight ends. Like there was a lot of classes, and it's very hard or it's very easy to get caught up in combine testing. But these classes had depth before the NFL Combine. I just think that perception is catching up with reality in the sense of, okay, now the numbers are actually matching what a lot of people thought about these players. Maybe it's not, hey, there's 15 blue chip players in this class, but there's a decent chunk of blue chip players, and the depth is actually what it was perceived to be before. Well, let me rephrase it. The depth is now correctly perceived because of the testing rather than the conjecture being all over the place.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good point. And that as a defensive guy, I truly love that. Also, Jacob Rodriguez got absolutely hosed in the Heisman finalists. That's just if you wanted to, I'm going to go on a little bit of rant. If they want to just be quarterback award, just turn it into a quarterback award. You know,
not to cut you off, I would also be remiss if we didn't mention Emmanuel McNeil-Warren of Toledo. His testing wasn't quote unquote out of this world, even though he still ran a 4.52 40-yard dash. But when I tell you he was one of the smoothest players I saw in the drill work at the safety position, it was legitimately impressive, and you see why he's so highly regarded. The way he's able to attack and move at his frame, very impressive, and a team's going to fall in love with him very early in the draft. Him, Dylan Thieneman, and Caleb Downs, just a lot of, once again, great safety class. Don't necessarily have to take one early because of how many fun guys are in this class, but it's a very fun one.
Yeah, I also want to give a shout out to our man, Mr. Brian Parker, the second from Duke. He's another guy that really stood out for a guy that was, I mean, nobody wanted him to play tackle, so he moves. He's like, okay, I'm going to play guard, and now he's just testing as well as we thought he would test, and he's performing as well as we thought he would for a guy who's truly had an elite college football career. So I'm very interested to see how that goes with him going forward. Now, before I let you go, because we got a handful of minutes left. What are your thoughts on some of the teams that we're covering for spring ball? I mean, for those first time listeners, Brandyn covers FAU, FIU, USF, and we'll probably see an ounce of Miami, Florida, Georgia Tech in there sometime this year. But just sticking with the three primaries that our average listeners are used to in terms of USF, FAU, FIU. What school are you most looking forward to seeing? I guess I won't say that because that doesn't seem right. What kind of?
I was going to give you a cop out answer if you stayed with it. Because
I know you were going to give a cop out.
You the cop out answer.
Yeah, that's why I had to change. I'm like, I can't word it like that. Let's just talk about briefly highlight the three teams and the three storylines that you're seeing and enter as they enter this season.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to start with FAU because I talked about it. I think, what was it, 2 weeks ago at this point?
I think so, yeah.
They have to, take a leap. My main storyline for FAU is why should it – I'm going to frame it as a question because framing it as a question is sometimes the best way to produce a storyline. Why shouldn't FAU compete this year? Right. They have arguably, if not the best quarterback, a top 3 quarterback in the conference. They're returning a very underrated yet very talented running back in Caden Shields-Dutton, who, with Jamari Sands now at Florida State, Xavier Terrell now at Northern Iowa, it should be his backfield, at least as the guy leading it. Obviously, they brought in Leonard Farrah, who I'm very intrigued by. Kind of seems like a fun little lightning and thunder duo, but they're returning him. They're returning Easton Messer. They went out and grabbed a lot of other receivers to fill some of the voids that left. They completely revamped the tight end room. They completely revamped the offensive line room. The defense returns some key contributors in Josh Roberts and Leon Hart Jr. They are, once again, completely revamped their secondary, and other spots on the defensive line. This is also a transition year in the American for so many of the top programs, one of which I'm going to get to in a little bit. But outside of them, Memphis, Tulane, right? East Carolina lost a ton, got the same coaching staff for the most part. They did lose their defensive coordinator, but you could reference East Carolina in that regard. North Texas got gutted, right?
Yeah.
As one of the few teams with a lot of the assets returning, I just don't see a reason why there can't be a leap and why there can't be competition from FAU within this conference, right? Because if that's not the case, there's going to have to be a lot of questions. So heading into spring ball, I'm really interested to see what is the foundation year 2. What does Zach Kittley learn? What does his staff learn? What is the mentality that he's preaching to the players that might be different than last year, right? Because if you really want to look at it, yes, it was a year 1, but you could really consider year 1 of Zach Kittley's FAU tenure a failure. They did not make a bowl. They lost to FIU for the first time in 7 years or 10 years, whatever qualifier you want to use, the amount of games or the amount of years, right? There has to be a flip with the amount of resource FAU is starting to invest in and the type of talent they do have on this roster. Because if there isn't, there's going to be more changes. And that's just my opinion. That's not any insider information. That's just my opinion. That's why it's my main storyline. FIU, school number 2 in this regard. What does year 2 of Willie Simmons look like, right? How do you build upon the success that you had at a program that hasn't historically had it while also dealing for the first time with the transfer portal, right? Most of the starting secondary is gone. You know, your running back graduated. You lost a large chunk of a very talented offensive line. You lost some other contributors. How do you continue to build your scheme, continue to build your roster while also incorporating so many new pieces? Now, it helps that a lot of guys are returning that are going to be key. Anthony Carey at running back, I think, is in store for a big year. Kyle McNeil returns at wide receiver. A lot of key guys on defense, namely Kenan Simmons, who really started to emerge late in the year. They have Dante Anderson back, right? They've retained some of their offensive linemen. How do you build on the success? And how do you improve on that success in a conference where, with a returning head coach, with a lot of talent on the roster, I don't see any reason they shouldn't be competing in that conference right off the bat. Okay. So very similarly to FAU, but kind of in a different regard because of the success they had in 2025, my main storyline is how does FIU build upon success even with some of the adversity they're facing? And then we arrive at USF. USF is probably the most interesting school out of the 3 I've been mainly covering. You know, not throwing Florida into the mix, not throwing Georgia Tech into the mix. Those 2, ironically, are very intrinsically tied together because of the Buster Faulkner of it all, jumping from Georgia Tech to Florida and the large swath of roster changes those 2 schools are having. We will cover that down the line. But when it comes to USF, who's going to emerge? That's it. That's the storyline. Because there are so many questions about this roster that I don't think you and I could cover it in the remaining whatever amount of time the show is on, right? What does this quarterback room stack up as? Because it could be Van Buren, could be Kromahawk. It also could be one of the 2 other guys they brought in that they don't expect right now to necessarily win the job, or the fan base or the wider college football landscape may not expect to win the job right now, right? Mm-hmm. Borderline in a completely new running back room outside of Alvin Isaac. And when I say completely new, you know, yes, they retained Trey Kinkle. Yes, they retained Chase Garnett. Those guys barely played. So for all intents and purposes, in terms of in-game reps, you are dealing with a whole new room. The same goes for the wide receiver room outside of a Moody or Rubin. The same goes for a tight end room outside of a Wyatt Sullivan, right? Offensive line, who's emerging in the 2 deep there. Defensive line, who's going to emerge. The linebacker room, you have to fill the shoes of 2 of the best defensive players in recent memory for USF in Mac Harris and Jalen Schuler.
Yeah.
The same goes for the set. Like I said, going down the list, it truly feels like it's one of those rare opportunities in college football where all the stars are aligning in terms of the coach leaving and so many key pieces of the roster leaving, whether it be due to graduation or the transfer portal, that it truly feels like so much of this roster is an open competition. Now, coaching staff could have their preferences. Coaching staff could lean one way, and that always can sway things. Obviously, NIL money could play a factor. We're not privy to those things. I'm just so interested to see from the start of spring practice until the spring game, what way are the winds blowing, right? What way are things leaning? How is everything going to fall? And when we get to the spring game, what are the units? Who's running with who? And how does everything start to coalesce as we head towards a very monumental season for USF in 2026? Their last one before they open the on-campus stadium in Tampa, essentially. So yeah, I basically that main storyline that I hit at the top, it really applies to everything. And that's not even getting to the scheme of it all, how the play calling is going to work, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot of questions there, and I'm excited to find them out.
Yeah, I think a lot of those teams have pressure on them, right? FAU and Zach Kinley have a lot of pressure to succeed. Brian Hartline's kind of like, well, if he lays an egg year one, does the fan base freak out completely, or do they give him time to build what he needs to? Because a lot of people say with the transfer portal, blah blah, NIL, it shouldn't take a year. It's going to take at least a year. Like you have to have retainment. You have to have guys who can learn your scheme, retain that scheme for the next year, and then teach the younger guys. It's more than a 1 year thing. I hope that the fans have patience there. If he doesn't succeed year one, I think he will, but never know. There's always a caveat. And I think FIU's kind of just like playing with house money right now. They retained Willie Simmons. They had a year where nobody really expected them to have the year that they've had. I mean, if they flounder, I don't know if there's pressure on him because they probably have a little bit harder of a schedule this year, maybe. Who knows? The rest of it's not set in stone yet. A lot of the CUSA people left though, so in terms of like the quality players, it's kind of a little bit barren now. Other than Delaware and them are kind of like rising up. So it's really interesting to me to look at it from like an outside perspective, because I see the stuff on social media when it's all the fans are freaking out, and then it's FIU fans and they're just like having a good time. It seems interesting.
I kind of want to push back on that a little bit because I think the USF one is accurate. I think the FAU one's accurate, but it all depends on how you want to define pressure. Pressure to compete, I think USF has because of the amount of funding that they're putting into that program. Like USF cannot win 3 games, right? Like they can't win 4. Like if they're bowl eligible, hey, that's a win, right? Because at minimum bowl eligible. I'm not saying like, oh, they finished with 6 wins, it's a winning season, right? Like what I'm saying is you're competing week in, week out. Everyone knows you're operating with the caveat of Hartline hasn't gone through a whole recruiting class yet. Hartline hasn't truly built his roster. I'm using that with air quotes because it technically is his roster. It's his first year as the coach, but he's coming in late. It really only has the portal to work with. We haven't seen how his staff handles a high school recruiting class, a full year to eval, right? So there's a lot of that to it. Now, I do think the pressure is there to compete because of, like I said, the funding. FAU, they're in the year 2. We had the retainment, the investment seemingly is there more than it's been in years past. The conference thinned out because of the nature of the coaching cycle and everything along those lines and where the American Conference standing is right now. There's no better time for them than to compete than this year because Gabe Valcamp's gone after this season. Easton Messer's gone after this season. Who the hell knows what the portal movement looks like after any season, let alone this upcoming season, right? So it may be a case of FAU doesn't have a better time than the present to compete. And when it comes to FIU, that's the one I push back on because you already had this success in the house money here, right? So now the expectations are there. Now you're expected in year 2 to continue the line basically. Willie Simmons has said that he doesn't view last season as a complete success. Like, they lost a lot of games they thought they should have won, right? When you're building that culture and you're setting that foundation at a program, you have to keep raising the bar, right? Or at least, at the very minimum, meet that previous year expectation. I think anything less than 7-8 wins this year is a failure for FIU. And look, maybe that's crazy coming from me, right? Maybe that's crazy
A little.
coming from coming for me talking about a program that hasn't had that type of success in years. But Conference USA isn't the strongest conference by a wide margin. You already showed that you can have success without having your own recruiting class, without having a full cycle, as I talked about with USF, to bring in your guys. Like, at the end of the day, Willie Simmons handled the high school recruiting, or Willie Simmons and his staff handled the high school recruiting, handled the portal. This is all of the guys that he wants there. This is officially his roster. You need to continue to see them to build. You continue to need to see progress. And I think they're going to hit both those benchmarks. I do expect a successful year for FIU. Now, who's playing those key roles? I'm excited to find out this spring. But I really think that the expectation, at least internally, is going to be there. Externally, who the hell knows? It's social media. It can change on a dime. But I think internally it's going to be there, and I do think they're going to capitalize on it.
Yeah, it doesn't help that the issues at quarterback were something that he couldn't necessarily – I mean, the guy he ended up bringing in, quarterback played a role in that, and obviously he's going to be having a new one this upcoming year. Also, if they want to end up leaving Conference USA, where we're all kind of expecting them to eventually get into the American – they kind of have to have that jump this year, right? At least to follow that trajectory path. And I'm sure if they have that jump, they'll look to retain Simmons. And maybe it's a nice trickle-down effect to where we see that a rivalry go into follow themselves into the American between them and FAU. That'd be fantastic to see, actually. I mean, I'd like to see all three teams do well because, I mean, it makes for fun coverage. It's good to see fan bases that normally historically have not really had that much success other than the brief Lane Kiffin era for FIU and the Schnellenberger. Other than those two, really, I mean, all the rest of the programs have kind of been bereft. And I mean, obviously the Alex Golesh years where the USF was nice for them too. Despite some of this disappointment. But yeah, with that being said, before I get you out of here, I know, I just went on a spiel. Before I get you out of here, Brandon, let everybody know where they can find you at on your social media and everything.
You can find me at BPOC24 on Twitter and Instagram. I'm on Blue Sky at Brandon-Pokrass. I'm also on TikTok. Look up my name. You'll find me. I'm on there. Don't worry. And stay tuned for a bunch of content coming soon. Spring ball is kicking off soon. Gonna keep the train rolling with everything, and very excited to start jumping into the 2026 season. Sheesh.
Yeah, kind of crazy how quickly things have turned. I appreciate you coming on the show, brother. I'll talk to you later. Sounds good. That was Brandyn Pokrass of the League Winners. He's the VP of the League Winners. You can find him at BPOK24 on Instagram and X/Twitter. And if you are watching this show, just remember this is a live show. So we will, if you do leave a comment, whether it's college football related, NFL related, or anything within the college football or football landscape, feel free to leave a comment and we will make sure to get back to you on that. If you watch it after the show ends, it's live viewing, and leave a comment, I'll get to you within 24 to 48 hours. And don't forget, if you're watching on YouTube, please make sure to hit that like button. It's completely free to do so, and it helps us out. While you're there, if you like the content, we have a lot of interviews and things of that nature on there. Hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Instagram as well at the League Winners, all one word. If you're watching on Facebook, make sure to hit that like button. You can leave a comment as well. Share it with your friends and family. We post all of our content that goes from Instagram to Facebook. So that means you will get all of the player interviews, all of the game recaps, all of the things of that nature on there as well. And if you're watching on X/Twitter, please make sure to click that like button. It's completely free to do so, even though it just showed my blurry thumb, blurred out my thumb. You can also leave a comment. You can share it to your friends, family, whoever. I truly appreciate all the love and support that everyone has given us so far. I do have an ex-guest who's going to be coming on the show in a little bit. Unfortunately, I sent him the link a little bit late because I'm not the brightest bulb in the shed there. So he'll be on momentarily. Be Dan Tortora. We'll talk a little bit about Syracuse football. We'll talk about college football in general, some crazy New York weather, and a couple other fun stuff. But before we get there, I do want to touch upon a little bit of the drama that was happening between Ohio State safety Caleb Downs and some of the stuff that was going on with Corey Kinnan, who wrote about it behind a paywall. Obviously, I'm familiar with Corey. I don't know, obviously we don't know each other on a first name basis, but I know of him and of his work. I don't think he would have put anything out like that without double checking his sources. Just because he's been around long enough, to where if he knows what information is right, what information is wrong. Personally, I don't think he would put that out there if he thought that it was going to have a negative effect or deem on him personally, or deem him as a liar. Just want to be good for the brand, if you know what I mean. But I do think that it's kind of getting taken a little bit, out there by some of the casual readers and people who maybe just not like him. Because let's be frank, during the NFL Combine and pro days and stuff of that nature, as we get towards the NFL draft, agents will leak things, scouts will leak things, NFL front offices will leak things, and reporters will leak things to either help a player or to hurt a player, depending on what their end goal is trying to be. Now, whether or not, and obviously this was on the Pat McAfee show. I mean, obviously it's generated insane amounts of buzz during this NFL draft cycle, because Caleb Downs is supposed to be generational safety prospect. Rumors of him going top 5, and now there's people questioning that all because of that Corey Kinnan piece. Now, I think that maybe Corey was given that information purposefully, and whether it's because if Pat McAfee is talking to the teams and they're saying no, is he a mouthpiece and just saying that for damage control? Who knows? There's always two sides to a coin. Obviously, McAfee has the bigger platform than Corey Kinnan does. That's just kind of obvious. One's on ESPN, one's on a Substack or Substack/Patreon. He has one of the subscription-based content creations. So not knocking that at all by any means. So one of those are at one level of the game and another is at the other level of the game. It's just what information is right, what information is wrong. I mean, it's all kind of, we'll find out soon enough. But with that said, I do think that people are kind of taking it out on Corey a little bit unnecessarily. Listen, man, I know maybe that Caleb Downs is perhaps, even if he's your favorite prospect or not, if that information was released, it was released for a reason. And, whether it's to help Caleb or hurt Caleb for a team that wants him there, who knows? We'll find out. We'll find out and see. But actually, I got him in the green room now, the aforementioned Daniel Tortora. I'll bring him in a second after I do this nice little intro on him. You can find him at Call DT on X/Twitter. You can find him at Facebook.com/WakeUpCallDT, YouTube.com/WakeUpCallDT, and WakeUpCallDT.podbean.com for his Wake Up Call show, live every Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Or you can find everything on his website at WakeUpCallDT.com. It is my good friend, Daniel Tortora. Dan, thank you so much for coming on, man. I appreciate you.
What's up, man? Feeling good. I been prepping for like this week, and today was supposed to be a relaxing day, and it just was like hang out, spend some time with dad, and then it was like do work, and then jump into this. But it's all good stuff. It's all stuff I'm excited about. But I was just like, man, like today just kind of ran together a lot more than I thought it was gonna. But happy to be here, happy to be hanging out, happy to rock Galactus on the show.
I love that. So, dude, you just have the sick. I'm gonna have to have like a reel of you, all the shirts you end up wearing every time you come on the show because they're so freaking sick. I think last week was the Venom shirt.
Yeah, one of the greatest lines ever said in a movie was from the most recent Fantastic Four First Steps, where the female Silver Surfer who is in the comic books. It wasn't like Marvel changing things. Like she's the girlfriend of Norrin Rad, who's the typical Silver Surfer. And when she comes down and she looks at them and she says, I herald you. I herald his beginning. I herald your end. I herald Galactus. I was like, dude, that is one of the most like chilling. It's just, it hits you some kind of way. And I'm like, man, he's the eater of worlds, but you know, it's, I don't know. Galactus is cool. And I just got another shirt of him that I waited and I brought down to Florida, and I refused to wear it until I went on Guardians of the Galaxy at Epcot. And then I rocked it there. And like that one, I like even more than this one. But yeah, I think I've said this before on the show, but anytime whenever I'm doing a broadcast, I have to think about what I'm going to wear. It has to have a purpose to who I'm interviewing, a subliminal message of something that I'm thinking about, something that's on my mind. Like there has to be a reason why I'm wearing the shirt, or else like I don't wear it. And so like I'll get up in the morning and be like, okay, this is what I'm bringing to the studio. And then I'm like, no, this doesn't make sense with me today. It doesn't fit me today. So there's a lot of thought that goes into this process of my wardrobe. So I just want to let people know that there is a wardrobe department of Dan Tortora Broadcast Media, and I take it very seriously.
No, I like it, man. Usually, I mean, as you can tell, I'm not in my studio today. I meant to ask you, is it like snowing, sleeting, hailing where you are, or did you guys dodge that?
I went to I was driving. I just saw my dad, and I was just like driving about my life, and there's a little sleet, little snow. And then my wheel was like, it did this like jump thing, and then it did it a few more times. And then like I pulled into where I had to stop at, and I went to get out, and I almost slid. And I was like, okay, so some of the snow melted, and now there's a sheet of ice on everything. And it's not like ice, it's like solid. It's like, it feels like glass that's just on the ground. And yeah, so a couple days ago, almost did a split going into my car. And then today I almost fell getting out of my car because there's just like sheets of ice on the ground. So
yeah, dude, I looked outside and it was like snowing heavy. I'm like, okay, that's not so bad. And, you know, I went to go walk with my daughter, and then we come back and finish our walk, and then it's just starting to sleet and hail. And I'm like getting in the car. I'm like, I'm not going to be able to make it to the studio like this. I did a bunch of work. I mean, obviously had to go, then I went to go and had to pick her up, and it was I ended up getting back here at like 7:30ish Eastern time. The show runs at 8. I'm like, there's no way I can get to the studio now. And then it was just the weather's been insane. I'm a guy who normally likes the snow, you know what I mean? Yeah. But I mean, dude, we're at too much now. I just can't wait till spring comes. I can start rocking some of the sick shirts that I've gotten outside, and like, you know, show off the weight loss body a little bit. You know, daddy's lost about 20 pounds over the winter.
That's awesome.
But no, I appreciate that. I've needed to lose it, man. I'm a hefty guy. But yeah, no, it's been a very long winter, I guess. It seems
100%. It's been super. I don't know, like I'm good. And then I got to a point a few weeks ago, and I was driving to a Syracuse basketball game, and I went outside, and it was snowing again, and the roads were terrible, and I was sliding, and I just kind of looked up at God, and I was like, you're going to do whatever you want to do, and I'm cool with it because I'm happy to be alive. And I know that this doesn't matter, but I just would like for you to know that I think I finally reached the point where I'm done. Like I'm over it. I got, because I tell people all the time when, you know, why is it snowing? I was like, you live in the Northeast. Like if you don't like it, move. It's like you wake up and complain about something that you know is pretty inevitable. But this year I got to a point where I was just like, okay, like at this point, I feel like, you know, the snow miser from those old movies is just throwing up all over Syracuse all the time. Like I'd prefer that like Jack Frost stops getting drunk and hurling over my hometown, because that's how I feel at this point.
Dude. Oh my god, the Heat Miser and this. Oh my,
Yeah.
he's Mr. Was it? He's Mr. Ice Cream. I hope we don't get hit with a copyright. I'm not even gonna sing it.
Oh
But
my
yeah, no,
gosh.
I know that song. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. I play
Yeah.
that for my daughter. She loves
What
it.
if I just like say a song? What if I'm just like, hey, remember that song by Billy Joel? You know, like it's so, I did a tribute to Tony Bennett, and I said, I don't own the rights to this music repeatedly. I said, I played like 10 seconds, and I said, you know, my dad loves him, and I'm just sad that he's gone, and I want to do this. And then they're like, you don't own the rights to this. I was like, listen to the content, you morons. Like, just no one's trying to steal Tony Bennett. I'm trying to honor. What if my uncle was like Andrea Bocelli? So I can't like play his music when he's like, dude, it's okay, we're family. And then, you know, the powers that be out there are like, I remember I did B-roll on YouTube. I had a quarterback come on, and we were breaking down film, and I used footage that a YouTube channel took from an actual place and put their logo on it. So if anybody stole it, it was this place. And then I said, I don't own the rights to any of this content, but I'm using this as B-roll to give substance to what we're talking about, so you can see it while we're discussing it, which every, you know, sports network out there in the world does, right? You have B-roll. So I was like showing it, describing it. YouTube flagged it. I fought it. They said no. I fought it again, and they said this is spam. And I was like, it's literally what you would see on SportsCenter, and the person that stole the stuff is where I took it from. And I would literally write on the video. I'd put the video up, and then I would add to the video, this content is, you know, belongs to the NFL. I own no rights to this content, and everything was fine. And I did it a bunch of times. One day they're like, no. And then they're like, this is a count against you. Please don't do this again. And then they flagged it as spam. And I was like, spam is when somebody texts you and says, hey, we have, you know, your car ready at Hertz. And you're like, I didn't rent a car from Hertz. But like putting B-roll up of a quarterback that you're discussing, that's like basic 101 broadcasting stuff. And I was like, why am I fighting this? And it was just so wild. And then I had to fight another time when a major company stole the interview question that I had, and I had to fight a conference in sports because they claimed the rights to my voice and the response to it. And then they had to lift the claim on my question because they wanted to take credit for it and put it on their network or whatever. And I was like, you know what? For all the things that people steal from me, I've never received a message from anybody saying it looks like your content was stolen. So it's just funny how I have to like fight for my own rights, but none of these places are fighting to preserve my rights.
Yeah, you know what? Now that you mention it, I don't think anybody's come to me with that either, to be honest with you. I've had friends do it, you know?
Yeah, like, hey, did you see that all of your content is currently airing on da-da-da-da-da, you know? And I'm just like, I've never gotten that message. I just turn on the television and I go, oh, well, I'm happy that I fed her family today. So always happy to feed your kids and your spouse. And, you know, I'm just, all I can say is for all the work that I do, at the end of the year, at least have a dinner for me where you know, get me a steak for the 37 steaks I bought for you. I mean, come on.
That's a good example of that is the ACC and American kickoff. When the ACC kickoff had like that bar thing that was for after, right? That was like free or whatever, free food or whatever, free drinks, something like that. So I went there a couple times, and we would look on the TV, and it would be like us on the TV and be like, well, I didn't say, like, nobody they just said this guy says it. Like, they don't even say who it is. Yeah. They don't say anything.
I remember
just like this guy.
One person who definitely knows my name. They wrote someone in the room asked. Yeah. And my buddy was like, they will go to all lengths of everything. Like, one person was like, a source that I heard in the room, like it was like the way that it was worded was so wild. It was like, someone in the room said something about a thing that we heard that said, and I'm like, oh my Lord, like, just like, why is it so scary to just say my name? You know, I was going to go in with a name tag at the next Syracuse press conference that says, hello, my name is, and I was going to walk up to people and go, it's Tortora when it's on the news tonight.
I love that, man. I remember I asked Belichick a question about like something with fullbacks and like changing the position of the game, like the way they don't use fullbacks anymore, right? They're basically extinct, and you know, everyone, you know, got up and armed, like, why would you ask Bill Belichick that when he could be asking him not like the same questions everyone else is gonna? And like they called me. I mean, I have it on my actually on my Twitter handle now. I think oh my gosh, I gotta remember what it is, because somebody said I was like Bill Belichick's media plant at the ACC kickoff because of the question I asked, and there's like, oh dude, it was ridiculous. There's like articles in the Boston Globe just saying that and this guy, and I'm just like, you really couldn't even just put my name in, like you didn't even like just this guy. So I mean, it's beyond insane how the lengths they'll go to just to be like, we're gonna steal this guy's stuff and just not credit him.
I'm just gonna start walking into rooms playing the song "Billie Jean is not my lover, she's just a girl." You know, I gotta play, just playing a song that exonerates you. Like, I don't know. I mean, you know, or play "Papa, Can You Hear Me?" I don't know, something that like is a reference to people not knowing who somebody is. But I mean, it's just wild. It's very. But I mean, thank goodness for comedy, because I lean on that all the time. And it's like the comedy in my brain and the stuff that I like say to the people that, you know, that are nice to me and that I talk to, I'm always like, my wit is just like, I'm always firing, thank God. And I hope my brain always stays that strong. But no, I'm sitting in a room full of vultures, and I'm just saying stuff that is just so, we're just laughing and we're having a good time. And I kind of like enjoy them seeing me smile and then looking at me like, why is he so happy? And I'm like, I know, huh? So I mean, I can't help myself. Like, God woke me up today, and I love what I do for a living. And, you know, I think I finally am getting to that point where if you hate my guts, that's a you problem. And that's okay with me, because I know that I believe in God, and I know that I pray for people that treat me like absolute garbage. And if I can pray for the worst of them, then, you know, I can sleep at night knowing that I'm not out here trying to hurt anybody or do anything wrong. And, you know, I don't know, man. Like, I just want to be around people that make me laugh and make me a better person. And if you can't do that, then please just walk away. And I don't really have anything else. It's like, I have the patience and the restraint. And it's funny because I think people think you're soft when you can stay composed. I think those are like the strongest people, because I look back on my life and I'm like, man, I never threw a punch or, you know, said something. I just like locked in. And I feel like that composure gets you so much farther in life. Like, if I could teach anybody anything, it's like, when someone tries to get under your skin, never let anybody see you bleed or, you know, cry or any of that stuff. It's like, yeah, sometimes things suck, but the reality of it all is I wake up every single day and the world is my playground. I have nothing to complain about. There's things I want in life. There's things I hope for. You know, I hope people are honest and genuine, but I'm going to be honest and genuine. And, you know, I mean, I can only control me. And at the end of the day, I can't name one time where something went awry and God didn't fix it.
Right.
You know, like he always is like, I got it. And it always works out. It's just incredible how things always end up working out. So, you know, I don't know, man. Like, I smile a lot more now, because why not?
Yeah, I love that. That's beautifully said. Because that's kind of, I mean, that's the way it is. Like, it's gonna work itself out, and you can either get upset about it, or you can, you know, put your head down and believe harder and do what's the best do what's best for you in that moment. Never. I've always been a fan of people who can push through the adversity and find, pressure makes diamonds. There's always you can find any saying in the book, right? That fits the description of what we're talking about here. And I think that really bleeds true to like what success ends up being. We're in positions where we are successful, in spite of stuff that's happened to us. You know what I mean? We've continued to get bigger and get better despite, any something that we might have perceived at the moment as a potential mistake. And as you like to say to me, God doesn't make mistakes, So I you've gotten me to believe that. So I appreciate that. But
we're changing, whether people know it or not, we're changing the game.
Yeah, exactly.
We are infiltrating, and it's so much fun for people to go, how does he keep getting in the building? And I'm like, because you keep leaving the window unlocked. Like, I'm sneaky, man. I was so good at hide and seek that I was confident that like, if I didn't like make a noise or let people know where I'm at, I'd still be hiding from when I was like 7. Like we played Ghost in the Graveyard, and I'm like, I might have to live where I am right now because no one's going to find me. So, I mean, all I can say is God has a way of making sure that his people are taken care of. And, everything comes to light. And all I can say to people is whatever you do in the darkness comes to light. So if in the darkness you're working, if you are the light in the darkness, then when the light comes on, people are going to see that. And if you're the dirty in the darkness, people are going to see that when the light comes on. So I don't really worry about like what people do to me or say or whatever, because God's going to turn the light on at some point. And, I don't worry about that stuff. There's a way of kind of stripping down everything that's out there. And it always ends up happening, don't be caught naked when the lights come on. So, I mean, that's just real deal. And I don't know, man. I live in a lot of comedy, and I have my moments, I have my days, but I just live in a lot of comedy, and I'll say wild stuff just to see what people think, and, I tell people, I'm like, I can do whatever I want. I said, like people be talking and you just walk up to someone and go, are you single? And they'd be like, yeah. I'd be like, you ever walk around your house naked? They're like, what? I was like, who's going to stop you? Like, I mean, like, you know what I mean?
That's true. Yeah.
So I don't know. I feel like sometimes, I don't know, in the famous words of Kevin Hart, sometimes you got to take it out and let them see it.
I love that.
And when people are sitting here like, what does that mean, Dan? That's right. Think about it all night long.
Yeah, you're going to put people in a loop now, man.
They're going to be like, wait, is he naked in the house right now? I got no pants on right now.
I was just about to say that.
No, I do. I got pants on. Hold on. Let me just make it. I got some Syracuse shorts on right now.
Oh, that's actually a good segue, because I know you can't be on as long as normal. But so I'd want to quickly ask you. Obviously, spring practices and stuff are coming up soon. The spring games next month, I think on the next month, the 21st or something like that, if I'm not mistaken. What are you looking forward to seeing in Syracuse as we start to head into practices? Is there, what are you looking to see from the coaching staff? What are you looking to see from the players? I mean, do you think we see Steve Angeli, or is that just kind of a pipe dream right now?
I don't know. I mean, like my hope is, I mean, obviously I'm a big Angeli fan, but I'm a big Angeli fan because like I've gotten to talk to him, and
right.
I've gotten to be around him, and I've gotten to be around him off camera. And so I don't know. I get like, I vibe people, and I like his vibe. I like what he's about. And I'm just a fan. I'm a fan of him. So I think there's a lot to be said about, his leadership. And whenever he comes back, I'm excited. I don't know what we're going to see in the spring game. Syracuse is weird, man. It's just funky. It's like, there's always these like smoke and mirrors. It's like, what are we going to do? You're going to run and throw the ball. Like, I mean, it's a wild, and it doesn't really matter who the coach is, but it's like, shh, don't tell anyone what we're going to do. And I'm like, I think you're going to try and get in that end zone that's not yours. And they're like, how did you know? like, I don't know, I watch football. And they're like, yeah, but did you watch our practice when you weren't supposed to? Yes. Yep, I did. I came in, I saw everything. Like, it's just, I don't know. When I talk to like alumni, it's wild because they're like, people knew we were going to run the ball. And we had fans at practice, we had family at practice, we had media at practice, and we're like, stop us, stop it. Like, when you're 2-3 weeks into the season, we know who you are. Yeah. Like, I don't know why, like, practice happens and we don't go to practice during the season. Like, there's no practice during the season. And it's like, why can't we see practice during the season? Like, we know what you're doing now. You know what I mean? Like, so to me, it's just, I don't know, like, the secrets, unless you have an alien that you hired to like beam up your running back and then plant him 50 yards ahead, you're probably going to do something that somebody else did at some other time or something that looked like something else. So, I mean, what am I excited about? I mean, the spring game doesn't really show us anything. It's kind of like a weird all-star game because it kind of feels like flag football at times. And, so am I excited for it? Yes. I sit with the fans. Like, I get my credential and I go sit with the fans. I got to sit with those people in the media all season long. And it's just love you all. But like, I like sitting with the fans. I like being with them. So when they're like, if they're like, where's Dan? And it's like, I'm sitting with the people that listen to my show. Like I'm a man of the people. I like that. So, I mean, the thing I look forward to with the spring game, I take a lot of pictures. I have a professional camera. So like, I take a lot of pictures and I challenge myself to do that. And I see some of the alumni, like last year I saw Zaire Franklin and I saw Andre Cisco and Kingsley Jonathan, all my guys. And Kingsley's going to be on the show tomorrow. So look out for that. He just got engaged. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm looking forward to a lot, but we don't always get to see much. And I'm the guy that wants to break it down. Like we see more than we used to see. We used to see him do jumping jacks. And then I was like, what is this? Like a jazzercise? But like now, wait,
really?
We literally would drive in. They would come out, stretch their leg, do 10 jumping jacks. And they're like, all right, everybody get out of here. So
no way.
Yeah, I stopped. I didn't go for years. And it's like, well, why aren't you here? I was like, because my gas is important to me. So like, but shout out to the president that got the gas prices down a little bit. I'm paying something. So shout out. I know people get weird. I don't like this president. Whoa! But I'm like, I like that the gas is down. So to President Trump, to Congress, to whatever person out there is ticking it down, to the people in the middle of the night that are changing the price on the digital thing because they're like being, what is it? That guy, oh my goodness, the guy that's, there's like a Robin Hood where like they try to like take from the rich and give to the poor, but whatever, whoever's bringing the prices down, thank you. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see Steve Angeli. I don't know if we will see him. I hope we will. And there's so many new faces. So I'm excited to see Calvin Russell. I'm excited to see what running back's going to step up because the stable, there's a lot. The top 3 guys are gone. Top 4 guys are gone, pardon me. And so I'm excited to see that because that's a wide open room. I'm excited to see the quarterbacks that are not Steve Angeli. I'm excited to see if Fran plays the same song that I loved last season at the spring practice because he played this one song and I forget the name of it, but I don't know. It was just so good. And now it's like in my wheelhouse, but yeah, there's so many new skill players, running back, tight end, wide receiver. We're going to see backup quarterbacks inevitably, I think. So I'm all of that on offense. And then defensively, who's going to step up besides Antoine Delorier and how much of practice are we going to be able to see? That's what I'm looking forward to. And is it going to be on time? Like when they say show up at 5 and then we go in at 5:47. So, like that's another thing. Cause I think about people like Thomas who travel in from Albany and, he's waiting an hour and 12 minutes once he gets there. So yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to a lot of things and probably making a lot of friends with everything I just said.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head because I would go there and we'd wait. I think the longest we waited was like an hour and a half this past year, something like that. And I'm just like,
It's
Dude,
wild.
it took me 2 hours just to get here.
Right. And like I think about it like this. If I'm like 5 minutes late, they start 14 minutes early. And then if
Yeah.
I'm on time, it's an hour and a half late. And
Yeah.
I mean, I remember when I was with this one girl and she had made me dinner and I got there at 6 o'clock and it was 7:30. And she's like, when are you coming home? And I said, we didn't even get started yet. She's like, what do you mean you didn't get started? Like I made dinner an hour ago. And I don't think like, I don't think anybody thinks about, I don't want to go home to that. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to go home to like because now it's my fault that some, you know what I mean? I
Yeah.
wanted to
Oh,
like
yeah.
give her, I wanted to be like, here's the cell phone number of the person that made me wait. Cuss them out. Like I don't because I'm a big person. Like take the onus, like take it on yourself. Like if it's
Right.
your fault, then take that. And unfortunately, like those people never apologize. Like they come out
No.
and it's like there's no like I'm sorry we're an hour and a half late, but then I'll show up 2 minutes late and they'll be like, yeah, we sent your guys back because you weren't here. And I was like, what? Like,
Yeah.
so I remember one guy waited outside for me because they told him to leave and he knew that I was interviewing him and they started early and there was like nothing I could do to get there. And he literally saw me get out of my car and he was like, anybody else I would have left. And they told me to leave, but like, you're my guy. So
That's sick.
I want to commend the wonderful people that are out there on the field working so hard. And I appreciate you very much. But yeah, I mean, dude, I don't know. I've been around a lot of different places and a lot of different things, and not everything is the same. There's no like blanket policies, and that's unfortunate. But I'm happy that we actually get to watch some of practice now. And I just remember, coach coming over to us and telling the media, like, if you say anything about the next thing that you're about to see, like, you're all dead to me. Like, I'm kicking you all out. You're never coming back here again. And I backed up when he was talking and I was like, he's talking to you guys. Like, I'm not a part of this stupidity. If somebody says, put your camera down, it's down. It's not like these people put it down and then someone turns and they're like, oh, I got it. And it's like, what are you doing? And I'm a big proponent of don't punish a community for the crime of 5 people. Like if somebody in my neighborhood murdered someone, I'm not going to jail.
Right.
You know what I mean? So you're asking me about the team and I'm telling you about like all of these things around it that are insanely wrong. But it would just be nice if people treated good people with respect. It would just be nice if for once in some people's lives, they looked at the person who they've disrespected for many, many years, who's always respected them, and finally just stopped and were like, thank you. I've been such a jerk. And now I'm going to be nice to you. So it's just weird, man. It's like some people must have gotten bullied in school because they take their jobs in a different way. And I don't know. I don't know why the world is the way it is, but I think that you get what you give eventually. And I think bullies end up having to answer for that, where, other people like you and I who have restraint, things always end up working out. And I don't know. I just wish the world was a little bit kinder. And I'm tired of being so like, I don't know. I'm tired of pretending like there isn't really crappy things that happen to really good people. So, like even Angeli, it's like the way he was treated was so unfortunate. And now everybody misses him and loves him. But when he was playing, they were like, they hated his guts. And it's like the best thing that happened to him was getting injured, because then like people stopped with their pitchforks and torches. But like, I don't know, man. Like, I like Steve Angeli. I like his leadership. I haven't heard one person say one bad thing about him. And I'm really excited for what he could bring to the table. But this Syracuse team it's just like, it's up in the air. I mean, there's question marks at the DB position besides Antoine Delorier at linebacker with Derek McDonald at North Carolina. There's questions on the O-line and D-line. There's questions in the running back room, wide receiver room. There's questions on the backup quarterbacks. I mean, this entire team is kind of like up in the air for the most part. And that makes practice really exciting because maybe competition's more open, but it also means that I want practice to be open longer so that I can tell the full story. I think having so much newness on the team, if your practice is an hour and a half, then we should be there for an hour, because who's going to tell the story of a bunch of new guys if we're there for like 24 minutes?
Right. Yeah. I think, what was it? We had a 20-minute viewing period, and then they sent us away for like 45 minutes, and then we'd have to come back for the interviews. Not great. But I mean, it's better than nothing, I suppose. But I mean, to your
Better than
point,
stretching.
yeah. Oh man, if that happened this year, I would have lost my mind personally. But yeah, to your point, I mean, I think with all the new players, like there's going to be a lot, and that's the thing. Like Angel, it really is a bummer that Steve's probably not going to be participating in the spring. So like, I mean, it's nobody knows anything about what's going to happen other than Delorier at linebacker. I mean, it's like wide open when Darius Johnson's there at wide receiver, but he wasn't even a starter. Like he got hurt last year. Like he like broke his leg last year. So he doesn't really have much experience. There's not much experience in the room. As you mentioned, all the running backs are gone now. You know, the top running backs are gone, including Yasin Willis and Will Nixon. And it's just, and Malachi James as well.
And Jaden Hart.
Yeah. So it's like all those guys are gone. Almost all the receivers are gone now. Gill's gone. Your boy Valari's gone as well to the NFL. Cook. Yeah, Jonte Cook's gone. It's just go down the list, and there's not too many guys coming back that wore, you know, the orange, blue, and white last year. And then they have a tough schedule again this year, man. So it's going to be
somebody
very
looking at the schedule and they're like, this schedule is going to be a lot easier this year. And I was like, what type of drugs got pumped into your veins? Like this schedule is like this, like they got to play SMU. You know, I mean, there's so many things. Like I'm looking at the schedule, and you got people saying, well, at least the schedule is given some more like breath this year. And I was like, where, you know, but again, it's like the narrative that this conference is down and it's not good and blah, blah, blah. I mean, if you look at Syracuse's schedule for 2026, I'm looking at it right now. They got New Hampshire. Then they play Cal. That's at home. Then they play at Pitt. Pitt's usually like toward the end of the season. Then they play at UConn, who's gotten better. By the way, Nunzio Campanelli, offensive coordinator against Syracuse.
Yeah.
Then they're at Virginia. So they're at. Then they have Louisville. Then they're at North Carolina. Then they have SMU. Then they have Clemson. Then they have at NC State, at Boston College. And then they finish off the season against Notre Dame. And I'm like, bro, the last 7 games, like the last 7, no, I'm looking at this right now and I'm going, they don't have a string of 2 games that I feel comfortable with.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking.
Like this team could go 1-11, or they could go 6-6, or they could go 4 and something, 5 and 4 and 8, 5 and 7. Like this schedule is not. I don't like anything about this schedule for them right now.
That's what I was going to ask you before I get chatty. I wanted to get your thought on this too. Like, what would you consider a non-failure season for Fran Brown? Like, does it matter between the wins and losses? Do you just want to see growth from the players? Like, in your opinion, what do you think would be like a quote unquote winning season, even if, you know, it's not a 10-win season, so to speak?
Yeah, I mean, I think at least get them back to a bowl game. You know, I'm not worried about Fran's job. I just look at, I mean, they got to get to a bowl game.
Yeah.
And I just, that's how I feel. And when I look at this and I'm like, okay, can I see 6 wins? I could see 1, 2, 3. I can see like 3 right now.
That's where I'm at. Yeah.
Then I'm comfortable with.
Yeah.
And I know people are watching and like, Dan, you're normally like the positive guy. And yeah, I'm also impartial. And I mean, to me, it's like you got to get to a bowl game. Just get to a bowl game. But I don't know. I mean, I think this is like a 4-8 year. I think this is like a 4-8, 5-7 year. This is like a growth year. This is like I got 30 plus new players. I mean, this is going to be a trying year. And if these young guys and these transfers can get it together and Steve can get healthy, then, maybe this can change. But I mean, nobody's lying to me about the fact that this locker room was a mess last year. I mean, I don't care what anybody says. You don't go, I mean, yeah, you don't go 0-8 for the rest of your season. I mean, yeah, you lost Steve Angeli, but he's not Jesus. You know what I mean? It's like, even Steve, I think, would tell you, like, yeah, I mean, I do everything I can, but you got to be able to move the ball. And I mean, this is Division I football. So, I mean, you're in an autonomy conference. You got to figure it out. Like, Wake Forest isn't bad. Georgia Tech's better. Miami's better. North Carolina will get better. Duke's better. Virginia's better. Virginia Tech's going to get better. Clemson's going to be Clemson. I think they'll be on the way up. I think Florida State's going to get better. So, I mean, NC State's good. So, I mean, Syracuse is kind of in this boat of like, are you going to get to the middle of the pack? Or are you going to like be fighting with the Stanford, Cal, BC of trying to like not be at the bottom right now? And that, and it's hard for me to say any team at the bottom because I respect them all and I cover them all and I appreciate them all. Right. It's just looking at it right now, like Stanford has a new coach, Cal has a new coach, BC is, trying to find its place and its footing. And they had a lot of consistent success under Steve Adazio, but it hasn't been as consistent since then. So I think, and they were at the bottom with Syracuse last year. So I think, right. I think Syracuse, they gotta find a way to steal some of these games because I don't really think they're going to be the favorite in like more than half of their games this year.
Yeah, that was kind of what my perspective was looking at Syracuse's schedule too. Like the New Hampshire win, I mean, they'd have to win that, but like every other game on there, I mean, there's no chance that they could theoretically lose it. I mean, they play a lot of really good teams, and not even just that, there's a lot of question marks on the roster, and whether or not, like you said, the locker room was abysmal last year in the way that chemistry was after they lost Angeli, and a lot of that falls on the head guy and the staff. So it'll be interesting to see how the new look staff, I guess we'll call it, of the Syracuse Orange kind of pulls that together. They have a lot of young guys too. I mean, I'm so curious to see what happens with Brandyn this year. And I'm curious to see if Dart makes a comeback or if that was just a 1-year thing where he had, when he kind of got inherited a really good roster and brought in a really great quarterback in Kyle McCord,
Yeah. I mean, listen, Scott Schaefer's staff put together a great roster for Dino. And, Dino brought a bunch of blue collar lunch pail guys that helped out Fran. And I mean, it's unfortunate that people don't give credit where credit's due because, I mean, the cupboard wasn't bare when Fran came in, the cupboard wasn't bare when Dino came in. And so, there's a lot of credit that should go somewhere. Tim Lester for bringing in Eric Dungy and all that. So, I mean, it's hard because fans are like, we want to win. And I get that, but you're coming off a bad season and you're hoping to have your arguably most important piece back.
Right.
And then you have a bunch of new guys, and Steve has lost almost all of his skill players. So you're asking Steve Angeli to come off of an injury, be better than he was last year. Like, it's got to be like he missed no time. He's got to be better. He's got to be more consistent. And he's got to be more consistent with people that he doesn't know. So, I mean, I feel like if I could say anything to the fans, give Steve Angeli a long rope and let him figure it out. Because I don't know if they're going to figure this thing out in the first 5 weeks. Maybe, but maybe it takes 8 weeks. I mean, I think that fans are going to have to hear something that they don't want to hear right now, which is patience is a virtue. Everything good takes time. People are going to show you who they are. It's not about what they say, it's about what they do. And I think things are going to come to light this year, good, bad, or indifferent. You're going to realize who the real ones are. And you're going to see what type of impact the personnel and coaching changes make, good, bad, or indifferent. And, everything's a question mark right now. And anybody that sits here and tells you like, I know this team's going to, I'm like, you don't know any. I mean, you can't, how could you possibly know?
Right.
The NFL has a 53-man roster. If Syracuse was an NFL team, more than half of their team is new.
Yeah.
So the Seattle Seahawks win the NFL title game. If they had 35 new players going into this season, who would pick them to do it again?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, maybe it's good because, you had these guys and you didn't have a good season. But I mean, I think Jonte Cook is a tough loss. I think Daryl Gill is a tough loss. I think Yasin Willis, Malachi James, Jaden Hart, Will Nixon are tough losses. I think Derek McDonald's a tough loss.
Oh yeah.
Enrique Cruz, he killed it at the combine. So that was a dumb move on their part to let him go. And so, I mean, I just find it funny how like Enrique wasn't good enough to be at Syracuse and be a starter, but then he went and started in the Big 12 for Kansas. And then he was one of 40 to 50 offensive linemen in the entire country that got invited to the combine. And then he finished in the top 2 for offensive linemen in multiple positions. And he finished at worst in the top 7 for offensive linemen. And he ran under a 5 flat in his 40 as an offensive lineman. So I'm watching very closely the people that leave Syracuse the people that leave Syracuse and just how good they're doing elsewhere. Like I think Derek McDonald's going to be an all ACC guy. I really do.
Yeah.
Like I think Derek McDonald's going to go to North Carolina and he's going to go to the NFL.
Yep. I completely agree, by the way.
I really do. And I think Daryl Gill is going to get a look in the NFL.
Yeah.
I think Malachi James is going to be on some Sports Center highlight reel this season. So it's not so much like when people say, well, Dan, everybody's going to lose people because it's the transfer portal and it's the world we live in and nobody cares. I'm like, Syracuse lost guys that they can't afford to lose. And I think Yasin Willis, I think if if his work ethic is strong and he's doing what he needs to do on and off the field, he's an NFL talent. I think Will Nixon's, he's going to the NFL draft right now. And Dan Villari is going to find a place. I think Enrique Cruz is going to find a place. So, I mean, I hope Will Nixon's, I think he'll get a call to go somewhere. So, I mean, and he had another year. He got approved for his other year. Like he could have come back to Syracuse and he decided not to. Like he actually got his waiver approved and said no. So, yeah, he was on the show talking about that. So, I mean, dude, I don't know. I don't the people that left, it's not a good look. And now they got to figure it out. And you got to have a good buy-in, like somebody besides Steve has to help lead this charge. He can't do it by himself. And I don't know. You got to change a locker room. You got to change hearts and minds. And, can they do that with a tough schedule and a bunch of new players? We'll see.
Yeah, and hopefully this time they don't. I mean, I'm just hoping that Steve is able to start the season healthy and without being booed like how he was this past year, which was just ridiculous, by the way, just by the fans and the media. I mean, seeing some media members do that in the press box was one of the most unprofessional things I've ever seen. Seeing
media members talk trash about Steve Angeli and then walk up to him and go, "Hey, guy, I love you," and I'm like, "Get out of here, bro!" Like you think he does? Like I will say this to the media as a cautionary tale. If you think that people you talk smut about don't know it because they shake your hand and smile when they're in their media things that they have to do, please understand something. Those players and coaches know who you are, and you're not fooling anybody. Yeah. I had a player, I won't say what school he went to, but he told me flat out, He said, I used to ask them who requested me, and I would look at the sheet. And if it was a certain person or two that asked for me that I didn't want to talk to, I told the SID that I had class because I didn't want to come out.
That doesn't shock me at all. I would do the
And
same thing.
I cover teams all over the country, and I'm telling you, whatever these people think they're doing to crap on Joe Filardi and then be like, "Hey, Joe, you're my best friend." Like, Joe knows, Angeli knows, Ricky knew. Like, there was nobody being fooled about anything, and I just find it hilarious that the media will crap on someone for 3 weeks and then they'll walk up to them to do an interview and act like they're their biggest fan. And I promise you, these players did not have a lobotomy. They know who you are. And there's people that they'll open up to and they'll talk to. And there's people that they'll talk to because they have to.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 100%. I've seen it happen. I can't say either, but that we already know. Plus, I mean, even with the Jets used to post the articles in the locker room so the players could read them. So, I mean, the players know who's talking junk. It's just in case you don't know, as a media member covering the team, they know.
Oh, we know.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no, I'll tell you this. I said, God will always bring it to my door.
Yeah.
And I think when you believe in God and you dedicate your life to God, he will always show you who fights for you in rooms you're not in and who doesn't. And he will tell you, you'll be like, why did God take me up from this table and he doesn't let me eat here anymore? And it's because they were serving you poison. And I am all about building relationships. And yeah, there's times that are hard and there's times that are tough, but Syracuse basketball has struggled throughout the season, and I've never walked into that locker room and had one of those guys be like, I don't want to talk to you. And, I would never do that. I mean, William Kyle, who I love, and he's going to get a look in the NBA. Last time I saw him, he put his hand out and he was like, "Hey man, good to see you." And his dad watches all my stuff. And I love Nate Kings, and I'm like super proud of him. He's elevated his game. I think Nate George has elevated himself a bit. Cayenne and I did a show. I was emceeing an event with Cayenne for Tops. And when he walked in, looked right at me, he goes, "What's up, boss?" Like, I just, I really, there's a way to be in the media and tell the truth and not sugarcoat when a team is struggling while not disrespecting the team. Like, there's a way to have a tough conversation without being a jerk. And I think people just want clicks and, I don't know. I feel like people want to get famous so bad that they forget that these are human beings, and the table always turns. Like, whoever you crap on, someone will eventually have a chance to either like do right by you in a time of strife or crap on you and say that you're trash. And, you just better hope that the people that you slap on the way by, that you don't see them again, because I promise you, everyone you kissed on the cheek and everyone you slapped in the face, you will see every single one of those people again.
Yes, without fail.
Like, you will see everybody again. I tell people, I go, karma's not a bee. She's only a bee if you slap her. Like, people are so afraid of karma. I said, if you put good in the world, what are you afraid about?
Yeah, that's a great point. They say karma's a bee, but there's good karma too.
Yeah, when I see karma, I said, "Girl, would you lose weight?" Like, I'm like, karma and I, we're like this, I mean, because I know I have instant karma. If somebody tripped in front of me and I laughed and I'm like, "Look at that guy," ha ha ha. Not that I ever do it, but I'm just saying, if I was to do that, I would literally fall on my face within 2 seconds.
Yeah. Yep.
100%
all the time.
Like,
yeah.
I have immediate karma, and that's like, God has made it pretty clear to me. He goes, "Oh, if somebody laughs and milk comes out of their nose, you better hope you don't laugh, because it's going to happen to you in 5, 4, 3." Like, and it does. And it's like, it's wild how I check myself at the door, but like, man, I love this profession so much, because you get to meet, like, the majority of the world wants to shake hands with the people that we're friends with.
Right.
And like that doesn't leave me. You know, like, why am I going to the ACC tournament? Because I want to cover 15 schools.
Yeah.
And I want to talk to them all. And I want to watch them practice. And it's like, well, Dan, you're like, why are you covering NC State? You don't live in Raleigh. I've been covering NC State for 14 years. Like that. Why do I do it? Because they're humans, right? They have stories to tell, don't they? And I don't know how anybody else interviews them, but I know how I do. And I love it. It's like, why are you working for 15 hours a day? And it's like, because why wouldn't I just love, it's like adrenaline me. It's like oxygen. You know what I mean? Like if I'm exhausted, you wouldn't know. I could be on 3 hours. Like I could literally land, go to my hotel and go straight to the first game. And you would think I slept for 3 days. And I'd be like, dude, I slept for 47 minutes on the plane and I didn't sleep the night before. And then I do 3 games. And it's like, why? Because like when it's in your blood, it's in your blood. Like that guy's out on the court, that girl's out on the court, and they hit a 3, they dunked a ball, and they feel hype. When I'm in a post-game press conference and I make you laugh and we're having fun and we shake hands after and I get to talk to you about your mom, that's my 3-pointer.
Right.
You know what I mean? So like, I see these players different because, you know, I want them to talk to me when they get engaged and when they have a baby. And there ain't no way they're talking to me if I'm like, you know, that guy's the worst quarterback I've ever seen in my life. And I mean, who's going to say, you know what I mean? Like, would you want someone to go like, you're literally the worst journalist that was ever created? Like, I wonder why people don't do the golden rule thing where it's like, God forbid anybody ever told you, like spoke to you the way you speak to them. Most of the people in a media room, if the coach flipped it, these people would like pee themselves. Like there's no way that like people could handle that well. I think the pen is mightier than the sword thing, but we can all write. And I don't know, like Boeheim, I remember being in rooms with him and somebody asked him a question. And I hope you don't mind if I swear right now.
You're good. You're good.
But like somebody asked him a question one time and I was filming it and I could feel like the rumble of the earthquake. And I was like, oh, you know, I literally remember like I wanted to get out of the room because I'm like, I don't want, because I've been around him long enough that I'm like, I know how he's going to answer this question. Right. And, you know, I don't know, but then some people just act like some people would ask him a question and then they would smirk and you're like, ew, like you just did that to try and see if he'll like yell
get
at
a response. Yeah.
Yeah. And to me, it's like all these years later, I saw Boeheim last summer at the TBT and there's all these people that want his autograph and they're watching him and people are hoping he'll say hi. And I walked up to him and he said, good to see you. And I was like, you don't get that if I'm like 99% of people that's like, hey, Jim, can you fight with me today? So it's crazy.
We have a comment from one of our new staff, Peter. He comes in. Dan has a new fan, incredible perspective and how all journalists should aspire to think.
Well, thank you, PW McDonald. And you said, is it Pat? Is that what you said?
It's Peter.
Peter. So I see PW on the screen here. So shout out to you, Peter. Thank you for your kind words, man. I'm trying to do the Lord's work and trying to laugh through some of the craziness that goes on over here, but I appreciate it, Peter, because I've had a lot of media people try to teach me journalism. And the only thing that I can say is it would be like a Tyrannosaurus Rex teaching me neurosurgery. Tiny hands, very small brain.
Says Peter, but Peter, he comes back in Peter, Bird. But everyone calls me Bird.
All right, well, Peter, I appreciate you. I like PW. I like Bird too. So yeah, I mean, I'll figure out which one I'm gonna use because he says everyone calls me Bird. But all I can say, man, is thank you. It's very kind of you. I appreciate it, and I hope that God leads you beyond your wildest dreams, man.
No, yeah, he's a good guy. Also, this guy I'm talking to right here is a great guy too. Make sure you guys follow him at Call DT on X/Twitter. Dan, I know we said you couldn't be on too long today. So before I get you out of here, just let everybody know like what you've been up to and where they can find you on all your social media and everything.
Yeah, man, there's a lot of good things going on. Binghamton University, we have an exclusive multimedia marketing partnership with them. I just spoke with the president of Binghamton University, Ann DeLeva.
Nice.
So I would definitely tell you all to check that out to get a leadership perspective in today's ever-changing climate of colleges and universities in and out of sports. And they are a top 10 public Ivy League school. So I'd suggest you check out Binghamton in general. I have Kingsley Jonathan coming on tomorrow and a lot of faith talk. Dan Villari talks about what he's learned from the sport of football, and we unpack a lot. My guy, Ed Gozik, who's Oswego State hockey's men's head coach, and he's phenomenal, and he's on his way to coach another potential championship team. And, you know, so there's a lot of great people that are on the show, but you can find us Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern time. We are worldwide on youtube.com and facebook.com, both /WakeUpCallDT, and on wakeupcalldt.podbean.com for internet streaming radio. Facebook's at WakeUpCallDT, X is at CallDT, Instagram's at WakeUpCall_DT. I try to put up positive, inspirational things on my Instagram story. And when it's from me, I will sign it myself. So one thing I put up is when trying to get through a bad experience, leave the bad and just take the experience. Knowledge and wisdom are what you take, and you leave the pain behind. So I'll leave you with that, and I'll tell you all to have a beautiful night. And I'll tell you that this guy that I'm picture in picture with is one of the best people that I've met in the business. And he makes a lot of things easier because, you know, you're not doing it alone. So thank you to you, Thomas, for all the work you do.
No, I appreciate you, man. Those kind words. I'm hyped that you got that multimedia deal with Binghamton. That's sick. I'm sorry, I keep seeing me look over. Obviously, I'm not in my normal studio, and I just saw on the wall like a centipede that's like this big. And yeah.
In the winter?
Yeah. So I'm like, unfortunately, his life may cease to exist after the show ends because he's giving me the heebie-jeebies just a little bit. But no, that's awesome, man. I do appreciate the kind words. I'm so sorry. You're probably looking at me while you're talking like, why does he keep doing that?
I'd be doing the same thing. Like if there was a bee in here, I'd be like this.
Yeah, I was just tracking him because he started at one side, and I was just making sure he wasn't getting like behind me. You know what I mean? Thankfully, he's not.
I have a deal. No, I have a deal with like spiders. So here's my deal with
spiders either.
Here's my thing with them. If you're on the outside of my house and you build a net, you build your web and you catch all these bugs and you keep them out of my house. Okay. So if you're out of my house and you keep other insects out of my house, we're good.
Yeah.
Okay. Because we have like, you got your family, I got mine, but we have an agreement, right? That agreement is broken when you get too big or you come in my house. Yes. And like I got used to these reddish black spiders for whatever reason. They started coming in my basement and I'd like turn this corner and they just hang out in this one spot and they're big. And I just got used to like I walk around and I'm like, I can't let my brain think about how this is. So I just come around the corner and I just smack it. It flips over like this. And I pick it up like a prune and I'm like, and then I throw it out. Because this is the thing. And I have women ask me this all the time because, you know, I'm a single guy. And when you date, they're like, how are you with spiders? And I'm like, listen, okay, if there's a spider in the house, I'll take care of it. But I've had a bunch of women tell me, they're like, okay, what I need you to do is I need you to take the spider. I need you to pick it up, not kill it. And I need you to set it free. And I'm like, no, we're not doing that. We're not. But I did have a girl tell me, it was the middle of the day. It was 1:00 in the afternoon. She goes, there's a wasp nest and I'm allergic. And I was like, what do you want me to do about it? It's daytime. She goes, I want you to go over there and I want you to knock it down. I said, it's an active nest. There's wasps in it. It's the middle of the day. If I've been taught anything, it's you spray it at night and then you knock it down. And she's told me, go over there and do this. I refused to do it. She questioned my manhood. She told me I'm not a man. And she told me because I wouldn't kill a wasp nest in the middle of the day that I could not be the leader of her family. And I am so proud to not be the leader of her family. He said that kind lady is going to have to do that herself. That's the thing, though. These women will tell you, I'm deathly afraid of spiders, but you got to save its life. I'm like, no. Okay. Mm-hmm. If you're deathly afraid, it's like, well, Dan, if you kill it, what does that say about you? It says that I know how to protect my house. Like, this is how I look at it. You come in my house, you're a burglar. I don't care if you're a spider or whatever you are. You come into my presence. I don't jump into the web and hang out and eat some of their bugs. And I don't go into the hive and knock and go, hey, the honey's not really sweet this summer. You got to work on it. So if you come in my home and you disrupt my life, I have to kill you.
Yeah. I feel the same way.
So like, I mean, I'm Italian and Hispanic. And I mean, I'll tell you this. If you ever see me with a pinstripe suit on and I'm wearing sunglasses inside, just be happy you're on my team. Because what do you say? I'm crying. This is incredible content. Yeah,
dude. Yeah. I mean, when I used to live in Texas, and I did this like festival years ago. Woke up, and there's always a rule to kick your shoes together and make sure nothing's in there because there'll be scorpions and stuff. For one time, there was I kid you not, a tarantula in my shoe. Oh, dude, no. Disgusting. I've seen a scorpion inside of a box of cereal, inside a box of Corn Puffs. And another one that got me was, I don't know if you're familiar with a banana spider, but they get to like the size of like your fist, and they're huge and they make huge webs. I have two stories. One was we were dirt biking. My friend got one, ran through a patch, got it on his face.
No.
Yeah. Oh, bro, I swear to God. And then the other one is at that same festival. They had one on their porch with a huge web, and it was eating like a small bird in the web, like insanity. Bird comes in.
They have wolf spiders that they said they look like. So they go high in trees and they look like a bird's nest, and then birds will come to sit in the nest and it'll close on. I'm like, okay. I know that God created the heavens and the earth, but what type of demon was allowed to create a wolf? Like, I can't. My buddy told me that his mom was like, she was like trimming the hedges in like Jersey, and she leaned into a bush and she backed up and she had a wolf spider on her, and it was this big on her shirt, and said, "This is me." Okay, that's an alien.
Yeah.
Okay. I tried to kill a spider down in Florida one time. It was like this tannish yellow thing, and it was stretched out like this on the wall. And I was by myself in the apartment. I was working at Disney at the time, and I had a Progresso can. And I go, I guess I got to murder this thing. So I took the bottom of the Progresso can. I hit the spider. I'm not kidding with you. The spider shrugged at me. I hit it, and it went like this. It went like, And then I was like, oh, it's like that. And then I just hit it, like scooped it into the can. And then in the same apartment, there was a bright red spider. And I was like in this rocket chair working at like this computer desk. And this spider was like by my leg. And then I was like, I got to kill this thing at some point. Like, I got to get it out of the house. And I was right by the door. And I kid you not, I looked down and it was gone, but it was bright red. And I prayed to God that night. I said, God, please help this spider to not have bitten me or bite me. But if it does, because of its color and because it looked like a toy spider, I pray that I finally get the powers of Spider-Man, because it looked like Spider-Man spider. Because when my body gets like fully tanned, I have like a white mark on my hand that's like almost right where he got bit in the comic books.
Oh, that's funny as well.
So I prayed to God. I said, either may the spider not bother me, or may I have the powers of Spider-Man.
Oh, Jesus. Dude, when I was a kid, I used to always pick up like crazy spiders because I wanted that to happen. And I'm terrified of spiders now. So take that for what you will. Bird comes back, and we had a wasp nest fall on our tree in our backyard. It was a horrible week. Couldn't go out there. I threw a rock. I threw a corn apple crabapple, sorry, at a hornet's nest, and I broke it, and I made the mistake of trying to run, and they just stung the dog. Yeah. I'm gonna have a spider. He comes in with a double. I'm gonna have a spider nightmares, and then the spiders. I appreciate you tuning in for. Okay. Now that thing is crawling over to me. I might have to get out of here before I get. I'm not even kidding. It's starting to freak me out now. He's on my side of the wall, and it's not a very big room.
I've said in the past that like I want there to be a gun just for bees.
Yes.
Where I can shoot them with. Yeah.
Dude, yeah,
people like, man, honeybees, they're going extinct. I'm like, well, I don't want them to go extinct, but I don't want. The only times I've ever been stung in my life, I've done nothing to a bee. They just stung me.
Yeah, I've been stung by bees for no. My dad gets anaphylactic like shock and stuff when he gets stung by bees. Oh my God, he's crawling over here. Yeah, I'm gonna have to get out of here, Dan. I'm sorry.
Murder him on camera. Do it. Where is he? I'm gonna see how big this thing is. I don't want to throw up. Where is it? Where is he?
Oh my Lord. I can't. Is it not gonna show it? Oh my God!
It's may not show it. Yeah.
Why won't it show? Where is it? Oh my God! It's the blur. You can't see him, but it's that blur.
I see him. He's right over your head now.
Literally. Oh my Lord.
It's horrifying.
Okay. I'm not even joking. This is
Dan, it's so nice to have against me. And it's just like your screen goes all the colors. Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God. Throw the computer and everything. Yeah.
That's what you get.
Yeah. Somebody's gonna save this episode just to use against me and blackmail me in the future someday.
Listen, I'm gonna tell you this right now. I think Mike Tyson himself, if he saw a centipede, he'd be like, hey, so guys, I was at this fight and it was just like a crazy fight and all this stuff. What the hell is that? I feel like even Mike would jump. We all do. It's gross.
Dude, I'm gonna have to take a picture and show you that. Show you this sucker. Because it is a big boy. Oh my Lord. And he's moving fast. But
I don't do any of this. I don't do spiders or none of. If there's a spider and I hit it, I'm going to tell you this really quick. I was dating this girl, and there was a spider in the room, and I woke up and I tried to kill the spider, and I hit it and I lost it on the ground. I lost it in the carpet, and she's like, "Go back to bed. Like, what's the big deal?" I go, "You don't understand. I didn't kill him, which means that he's going to go somewhere. He's going to train. He's going to heal.
He's going to come back. Yeah.
He's going to come back stronger." I kid you not, dude. Like a few days later, I'm about to go to bed. I look up at my heating vent above my head, and this spider was descending from my ceiling. And to this day, I'm convinced that that spider went in the leg that I broke. It went and put webbing around it and made like a brace for itself. And then it went and it studied me, and it got stronger, and it came back, and it was trying to kill me in the middle of the night. And I saw it.
That's terrifying. So I used to live in this old house, and I had this dream that like stuff was just going on my face and I was itching. Woke up, thousands of baby spiders, Dan, just falling from the ceiling. I swear to God.
In real life.
I didn't sleep in that room. I didn't sleep in that room for a week.
Were you in a Stephen King movie?
Dude, oh my Lord. It was terrifying. I was just falling asleep. I was probably 15, 16, something like that. I was a teenager. And I'm just like itching I feel like I'm, something on my face, just a little itch or something. And then it kept happening, and I woke up and there's just thousands of them falling from the sky. It terrified me. I did not sleep in that room for an entire week. You see the picture, right? Dude, massive. That thing is massive.
Ew. That thing's got a zip code. That's gross.
Yeah. And Bird comes back in spider training to Rocky music. Oh, and now my daughter's getting restless that we're running long. So Dan, let me get out of here, brother. He said I would never go back in that room. Are you kidding? I took me over a week to finally sleep back in that room, and that was after everything was exterminated.
So I looked at the picture that Thomas just sent me, And after I looked at it and showed it to the screen, I immediately deleted it because I don't want it on my phone.
I don't blame you. You're gonna pop up like, why the give yourself a jump scare, and now you're gonna start looking around your room and stuff.
I'll tell you this right now. If anybody in the media gives us crap for what we're talking about right now, I'm going to take my shoe off during one of the practices and hit him in the face. And I'm going to be like, there was a centipede on your face, I swear.
I love that. Oh, man. But then thank you so much for coming on, man. I appreciate you. Let me get out of this before this thing conquers me.
Yeah, you better kill it. I want pictures.
It fell down. It's on the floor now somewhere.
Oh,
so
no.
I'm like,
Oh,
dude,
no.
yeah,
No,
bro.
I'm out.
And this is not a big room, and I think it's underneath this debris of mattress sheets that's in here.
No, you better just
yeah.
You better make sure that you take care of that business.
Yeah. So thank you so much for coming on, brother. I'll talk to you later.
You're welcome. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Special guest star Centipede. Awesome.
Oh. That was Dan Tortora. You can find him at x/Twitter at CallDT. He does a show Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Dan is fantastic, by the way. Make sure you guys give him a follow. He truly is a great person in the media, and I consider him a great friend. Bird comes in at the end. Have a good night, boys. I'm going to buy some Raid. I probably should do the same. But if you're watching this show on any social media platform, as you see me continuously look at the walls here, just make sure you give a nice like. It's completely free to do so. Share it on X/Twitter/Instagram. Dan comes in the private comments says, buy a blowtorch. I'm gonna have to. I might burn this room down by the end of it. Make sure you guys give a like, a comment. It's completely free to do so. You can also share it as well. This is a live show, as you saw there. If you give comments, we will respond to the comments live on air. If you comment after the show ends, it's live feed. Give me 24 to 48 hours, and I will leave a comment and I will comment back to you and respond. This has been Thomas Christopher of the League Winners, and for this very interesting podcast episode. Obviously, I'm not in my studio. A big blizzard stopped that from happening. So I appreciate everybody who's tuned in and enjoyed my rants. I appreciate Brandyn, Pokrass, and Dan Tortora for coming in, and as everybody tuning in and watching. So this is Thomas Christopher.